322 The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Hearing that Lin Ran had something important to entrust to him, Sun Ji couldn't help but frown. At the side, Huo Qian also looked puzzled. He looked at Lin Ran and asked in confusion, "Are you crazy? He wanted to kill you just now, but you wanted to entrust something to him? What makes you think he'll listen to you?" "Of course he'll listen to me," Lin Ran said confidently, but his eyes were filled with malice, because this also has something to do with his own plan. His plan? Huo Qian looked at Sun Ji in confusion, frowned, and asked coldly, "Hey, what's your plan?" Sun Ji ignored Huo Qian and frowned at Lin Ran. "What exactly do you mean? Do you think you're the mastermind?" As if afraid that Sun Ji wouldn't understand, Lin Ran paused for a moment and added, "I'm talking about your and Chen Tianqi's plan. Do you think you're the mastermind?" "Of course." Sun Ji nodded without hesitation. After all, he and Chen Tianqi had come up with the plan and carried it out together until now. If they weren't the mastermind, who was? However, to Sun Ji's surprise, Lin Ran laughed when he heard his answer. His laughter was filled with mockery. Sun Ji was furious, but he was still puzzled. His intuition told him that Lin Ran must know something he didn't. Thinking of this, Sun Ji took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. He patiently asked, "Do you know something?" Lin Ran smiled mysteriously but didn't answer Sun Ji's question. He changed the topic and asked, "Can you find Chen Tianqi now?" Sun Ji asked. Seeing Lin Ran nod, he immediately looked troubled. "It's a little difficult, but we've already agreed to meet tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow morning?" Lin Ran nodded thoughtfully. "It's a little late, but it shouldn't be a big problem." Sun Ji couldn't help but look curious when he heard this. Huo Qian asked directly, "What are you muttering about? Can't you just say it?" "TSK. You talk as if you can understand me if I tell you." Lin Ran rolled his eyes at Huo Qian and looked at Sun Ji seriously. "It doesn't matter if you believe me or not. In any case, you and Chen Tianqi were played by Xuan Wushang. You think you're the mastermind, but you're just pawns in his hands." Hearing the words Xuan Wushang, Huo Qian's expression changed slightly. He was about to speak when Lin Ran stopped him with a look. On the other hand, Sun Ji's expression also changed. His first reaction was disbelief. "We've imprisoned him for 13 years. Apart from Elder Ge, who delivers food every day, he can't come into contact with anyone from the outside world. Are you trying to say that Elder Ge is actually his man?" Before Lin Ran could speak, Sun Ji sneered and continued, "If that's what you want to say, I advise you to save it. Elder Ge is the last person in the world who will betray us." Lin Ran took a deep breath and held back his laughter. He looked at Sun Ji and said seriously, "I don't know why you trust Elder Ge so much, but this matter indeed has nothing to do with him. Back then, when you took Fluttering Cloud away from Xuan Wushang, it was all part of his plan. Back then, he left a corner of Fluttering Cloud. Through that corner, he could hear everything Chen Tianqi heard. Your plan was already under his control." As soon as he finished speaking, Sun Ji immediately looked suspicious. However, before he could question, Lin Ran said, "In short, this is the situation. Your plan has nothing to do with me. I've already told you everything I know. Believe it or not, it's up to you." Sun Ji looked at the calm Lin Ran and didn't know what to say. Although he didn't want to admit it, it was true that his plan had nothing to do with Lin Ran. Now that Sun Ji already knew that Lin Ran was not from the Great Yong dynasty, it meant that what happened here was none of his business. The information Lin Ran provided under this premise seemed to be quite convincing. "Why?" After a short silence, Sun Ji looked at Lin Ran and asked seriously, "Since what happened here has nothing to do with you, why did you help us? To cause trouble for Xuan Wushang?" Lin Ran smiled evilly and replied honestly, "I don't know what Xuan Wushang's motive is, but your plan has clearly become a part of his plan. Since he wants to take advantage of you, I naturally can't let him have his way." After a pause, Lin Ran continued, "By the way, I know you don't believe me, but this problem is easy to solve. After you see Chen Tianqi tomorrow morning, you just have to test him a little to know if I'm telling the truth." Sun Ji's interest was piqued. How to test him? Think about it yourself. Lin Ran shrugged, but Sun Ji wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't. Seeing that Sun Ji was silent, Lin Ran couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on him. He raised the waste token in his hand and reminded him, "Remember to go to the city gate to get it tomorrow." With that, Lin Ran turned around and left. Seeing this, Huo Qian hurriedly followed. As soon as he left, he couldn't help but ask, "What did you say just now? Why didn't I understand a word you said?" Xuan Wushang was locked up for 13 years. Why haven't I heard of this before? There are many things you haven't heard of. Lin Ran chuckled and waved his hand to urge him to hurry up. Let's not talk about this first. We'll go to the Yi family immediately. I'll explain it to you after we leave the city. Huo Qian knew that Lin Ran had his plan, so he didn't ask further. Then, the two of them left the government office and went to the north of the city. When Lin Ran stopped in front of the house with the door open, Huo Qian's expression became strange. Is this the Yi family you mentioned? Huo Qian probed with a strange expression. The house I told you about is this one, but there was no one inside when I entered. No one? Lin Ran raised his eyebrows. As he spoke, he released his divine sense to scan the rooms. After realizing that there was really no one around, he immediately had an ominous feeling. 323 Absolute Strength. Near the east gate of the Iron City, Yi Shixiao held Yi Jin's hand with one hand and reached into his pocket with the other. He seemed to be holding something. Centurion Chen, aren't you taking us to the government office? This should be the way out of the city, right? That's right. It's the way out of the city. Chen Tianqi walked in front and said without looking back, I just received news that Lin Ran has something to do and left the city, so I brought you to meet him outside the city. Oh? The vigilance in Yi Shixiao's eyes intensified. When did you receive the news? Why didn't I know? Through a communication method used by the army. Ordinary people naturally don't know about it. Chen Tianqi's answer was flawless, but to the abnormally sensitive Yi Shixiao, this reason clearly did not convince him. Seeing that they were getting closer and closer to the city gate, Yi Shixiao remained calm on the surface, but his palm that was holding Yi Jin's was already sweating. Yi Jin couldn't help but look at her father worriedly. She wanted to ask, but Yi Shixiao stopped her with a look. Yi Shixiao did not explain and only gave Yi Jin a be careful look. Then, he let go and pointed at the dark alley at the side. He did not care if Yi Jin understood or not and immediately rushed towards the city gate. Murder! Someone, come quickly! Yi Shixiao shouted with all his might as he ran. His voice was especially loud in the quiet night. Almost instantly, more than 10 men in black rushed out. At the same time, Yi Jin understood what her father meant. Without hesitation, she turned around and ran towards the dark alley. Although she was also worried about her father's safety, with a dozen or so men in black around, Chen Tianqi probably wouldn't dare to do anything. Just as this thought appeared in her mind, Yi Jin suddenly heard the sound of a sharp blade being unsheathed. Then, a strong gust of wind came from behind her. She didn't even know what was going on when she felt something tighten around her neck. Then, a saber was pressed against her neck. Feeling the coldness on the blade, Yi Jin couldn't help but shiver. When she came back to her senses, she saw her father standing rooted to the ground in shock. The dozen or so men in black whom she placed her hopes on were already lying in a pool of blood. So why are you playing little tricks? Only then did Yi Jin realize that she was being held in Chen Tianqi's arms. When she saw the blood flowing freely not far away, she came back to her senses and was immediately filled with fear. Father! Save me! Yi Jin screamed uncontrollably. Yi Shixiao shuddered and woke up from his daze. When he turned around and saw that Yi Jin had been caught, Yi Shixiao's expression instantly darkened. He pulled out a dull saber from his pocket with his right hand. Let her go. No. Chen Tianqi replied calmly with a hint of helplessness in his tone. It's all your fault that things turned out like this. If you had followed me out of the city obediently, why would I have to do these things? As he spoke, Chen Tianqi's gaze passed Yi Shixiao and landed on the corpses of the men in black. These 13 lives are also on you. Is there a problem? Yi Shixiao stared at him. You're not sent by Lin Ran. Who are you? You're right. I'm indeed not sent by Lin Ran. As for my true identity, at this point, Chen Tianqi paused for a moment and smiled bitterly. I'm just a nobody. After so many years, I have even forgotten who I am. You forgot who you are? When Yi Shixiao heard this, he frowned slightly, not understanding what the other party meant. However, Yi Jin's life was in the other party's hands now, so he was not in the mood to dwell on it. I don't have to ask who you are, but please let go of my daughter. Yi Shixiao persuaded again, his tone clearly much gentler than before. As long as you let go of my daughter, I can agree to anything you want. Actually, I don't want anything. I just want to bring you out of the city. Chen Tianqi replied helplessly. Then, he let go of Yi Jin without hesitation and took a few steps back, as if he wanted to use this opportunity to prove that he really meant no harm. Yi Jin, who had regained her freedom, was slightly stunned. When she came back to her senses, she hurriedly ran towards Yi Shixiao. Chen Tianqi, who was behind her, had no intention of stopping her. When the father and daughter reunited, Chen Tianqi sheathed his saber and pointed at the city gate. I have no ill intentions towards you. Moreover, I was ordered to bring you to a place outside the city alive. However, if you want to escape." At this point, Chen Tianqi paused for a moment and placed his hand on the hilt of the saber at his waist. "That'll be a big mistake." As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding temperature seemed to have instantly dropped. Yi Shixiao couldn't help but shiver, and his hand that was holding the saber trembled uncontrollably. However, the fact that the 13 men in black died in front of him in the blink of an eye was enough to prove how ruthless Chen Tianqi was. Even though Yi Shixiao was holding a saber in his hand, he was still not confident that he could keep his daughter safely. After weighing the pros and cons in his mind, Yi Shixiao finally chose to give up. As soon as he loosened his grip, the saber fell to the ground with a clang. "We'll go with you. A wise choice." Chen Tianqi nodded expressionlessly. Then, he walked past the father and daughter to open the gate. He did not even look at the two of them the entire time, as if nothing had happened. A moment later, near the east gate of the Iron City, Lin Ran and Huo Qian walked side by side. Both of them didn't look too good. "You're really lucky." Huo Qian glanced at Lin Ran and was caught between laughter and tears as he mocked, "You chose 3 of the 4 city gates wrongly. How unbelievable." When Lin Ran heard this, he immediately looked displeased. "Are you done? How can you blame me for this? Who knew they would leave from the east gate?" "Wait." Halfway through, Lin Ran's expression suddenly changed. Beside him, Huo Qian drew his sword and sniffed the air a few times. He said in a low voice with a solemn expression, "It's the smell of blood. It's very fresh." Lin Ran nodded. With a flash of white light, he summoned the yin-yang sword. "It's in the direction of the city gate." The two of them turned into phantoms and flashed to the city gate. When they saw the open city gate and the dozen or so men in black lying in a pool of blood, their expressions clearly turned solemn. "The body is still warm. The murderer must have left not long ago." Huo Qian touched the corpse and said softly, "Is it your friend who did it?" "I don't think so." Lin Ran shook his head slightly and fixed his gaze on the wound on the corpse's throat. "These people were all killed with one strike. Moreover, the corpses are so densely packed. They must have been killed at the same time. Our enemy is a master." 324 Give someone a taste of their own medicine. 30 miles east of the Iron City, the desolate wilderness was pitch black under the night sky. The wind blew hard, but only the thin sand and dust fluttered weakly. In this desolate wilderness, the real Chen Tianqi was sitting cross-legged on a large rock. Fluttering Cloud was moving with the wind ethereally. His malicious gaze landed somewhere in front of him, as if he was carefully sizing up something, or he was just in a daze. After an unknown period of time, Chen Tianqi suddenly sensed something and turned his head to look in a direction. He saw a thin figure slowly walking over from the wilderness. He walked over slowly with his hands behind his back, looking indifferent. "It's him." Chen Tianqi's eyes widened as an ominous feeling surged in his heart. Fluttering Cloud, which was fluttering in the wind, surged up and instantly wrapped around Chen Tianqi. The fabric that looked like fog was stacked layer by layer. Although it was still only a thin layer like a cicada's wing, it was the toughest armor in the world. At the same time, the thin figure walked closer. His elegant facial features and ragged clothes made him look like a scholar who had lost his way at night. However, such a harmless-looking person made Chen Tianqi reveal a nervous expression as if he was facing a great enemy. The two of them faced each other silently from more than 10 steps away. Apart from the sinister look on their faces, their appearances were almost the same. Xuan Wushang. Chen Tianqi stared fixedly at the scholar-like person in front of him. Even though he was trying his best to control himself, his voice was still trembling. "How did you come out?" "I came out when I wanted to." Xuan Wushang replied with a faint smile, "You don't really think that place can confine me, do you?" Chen Tianqi's entire body was hidden behind Fluttering Cloud, but one could still see his eyes darken. "Since it can't confine you, why did you wait until now to come out?" "I've been on the throne for many years and have worked hard for the Great Yong dynasty. It's not easy for me to have a chance to rest, so I naturally have to seize it." Xuan Wushang replied with a smile, his tone revealing a hint of slyness. "Besides, you didn't do anything evil. Even if you occasionally do something for your personal gain, it's understandable." At this point, Xuan Wushang paused for a moment and looked at Chen Tianqi with approval. "In short, you did a good job. In some aspects, you're even more qualified than me as an emperor." Hearing the words "in some aspects," Chen Tianqi suddenly revealed a puzzled expression. It was not because he did not understand, but because he felt that it was impossible for Xuan Wushang to know those things. After all, those things were planned and carried out by Chen Tianqi alone. Even Sun Ji, who had joined forces with him, did not know about it. Xuan Wushang had been imprisoned for 13 years. How could he know about his doings? I must be thinking too much, Chen Tianqi thought to himself. At the same time, he added, since you're so well informed, you should know that I won't do anything to harm the great Yong dynasty. I know that I'm a criminal and will be punished severely, but Your Majesty, on the account that I've worked hard for the great Yong dynasty for many years, please give me more time. Xuan Wushang pondered for a moment before revealing a helpless expression. I'm afraid I can't. When Chen Tianqi heard this, his eyes darkened. After thinking for a moment with a complicated expression, he asked again, if I kill myself here, can Your Majesty agree to one request of mine? Is it about the Iron City? Xuan Wushang saw through Chen Tianqi's thoughts. Then, he changed the topic. Your ability is not bad. Compared to that insignificant matter, why don't you join forces with me and plan a grand plan for the great Yong dynasty? Great plan? Chen Tianqi revealed a puzzled expression again, but an ominous feeling surged in his heart. Although he couldn't figure out the reason, from Xuan Wushang's words, it seemed that he really knew what he had done. Am I really thinking too much? A trace of doubt arose in Chen Tianqi's heart. Thinking of the consequences of being exposed, his eyes gradually became determined. Even if there was only a 1 in a million chance of being exposed, Chen Tianqi did not dare to take this risk. There was only one way to solve this problem. Without any hesitation, the moment he made the decision, the gauze around Chen Tianqi immediately surged. It was as if endless white gauze was blooming layer by layer like a lotus flower. The corners of his clothes were like sharp fangs in the mouth of a monster, devouring Xuan Wushang's figure easily. A bone-chilling sound came from inside the gauze. Chen Tianqi watched silently with a gloomy expression. He knew that after killing Xuan Wushang, he would have to live as the emperor for the rest of his life, but compared to the goal he pursued, this sacrifice was nothing. Your Majesty, I didn't want to hurt you, but you blocked my way. Chen Tianqi muttered to himself softly, but before he could finish speaking, his expression suddenly changed. The white gauze covering Xuan Wushang suddenly exploded, and then it actually retreated the way it came. The sudden turn of events made Chen Tianqi's expression freeze. He subconsciously focused his attention on trying to control Fluttering Cloud, but he realized that Fluttering Cloud, which was under his control, did not listen to his command. What's going on? Chen Tianqi couldn't help but roar. Extreme panic occupied his heart, and he didn't even realize that his voice was extremely hoarse. It's very important to know your place in life. Xuan Wushang's indifferent voice sounded. Chen Tianqi subconsciously turned his head and saw that Xuan Wushang, who had been swallowed by Fluttering Cloud, was still standing there unscathed. Seeing Chen Tianqi's shocked expression through the gauze, Xuan Wushang's face revealed a hint of mockery. Fluttering Cloud is a royal treasure. Who do you think it will listen to? Chen Tianqi stared fixedly at Xuan Wushang, his eyes gradually turning from confusion to fear. The two of them looked at each other silently from more than 10 steps away. It was as if they had returned to the time when they first met. However, the armor that protected Chen Tianqi back then had already become a cage that imprisoned him. 325 Impersonation. Somewhere outside the Iron City, Yi Shixiao and Yi Jin walked side by side. The young man who called himself Chen Tianqi walked in front silently. From time to time, he would stop for a moment as if he was sensing something, but he never said a word and never looked back at the father and daughter. Even so, Yi Shixiao did not dare to act rashly. Although his cultivation level was not high, he could sense a wisp of divine sense lingering around. It was most likely used by the person to monitor them. After walking in silence for about 15 minutes, Yi Jin couldn't help but ask, "Hey, where exactly are you taking us?" "I don't know," the young man replied in a low voice without looking back. He did not stop walking, as if the person who spoke just now was not him at all. Yi Jin and Yi Shixiao looked at each other with strange expressions. This person kidnapped them from their house in the middle of the night, but he didn't know where he was taking them. Then what was the point of doing this? After thinking for a moment, Yi Jin asked softly, "Could it be that someone wants to go to our house to find something, so they sent someone to bring us out?" Yi Shixiao shook his head without thinking. "If that's the case, they can just barge in. Without Lin Ran around, you and I can't stop them." If that was not the case, Yi Jin really couldn't understand what was going on. Just as the two of them were feeling puzzled, the young man in front suddenly stopped. Previously, he often stopped in his tracks, so Yi Jin and Yi Shixiao did not pay much attention to it. They stood still and waited quietly for the other party to continue. However, they realized that they had been waiting for nearly 15 minutes. During this period of time, that person did not move at all. The two of them could tell that something was wrong. "Why aren't you walking?" Yi Shixiao looked around warily and probed. "Did something happen?" The young man did not say anything and only waved at the two people behind him. Then, he tilted his head slightly, as if he was listening carefully to something. However, Yi Shixiao imitated him and listened carefully, only to hear a faint sound of wind. "It seems that the military communication method he said previously is not nonsense," Yi Shixiao muttered to himself thoughtfully. Then, he saw the young man straighten up and turn around to walk towards them. "What happened?" Yi Jin frowned and asked in confusion. "Did something happen? The situation has changed." As the young man spoke, he walked up to the two of them and said softly with an indifferent expression, "You're useless now." "We're useless?" Yi Jin and Yi Shixiao were stunned at the same time. Before they could understand what the other party meant, they heard a sharp clang. The young man unsheathed his saber at lightning speed and slashed at the two of them without saying anything. The cold light was so fast that the two of them could only watch as the snow-white blade approached inch by inch. At the critical moment, a strong wind suddenly tore through the air, and countless dazzling sparks exploded between the three of them. The saber made of steel was split into two, and then blood spewed out from the young man's chest. The violent force sent the young man's thin body flying. After instantly flying more than 100 feet, he landed on the ground and rolled more than 10 times before finally stopping. At this moment, only a second had passed since the young man unsheathed his saber. The situation completely stunned Yi Jin and Yi Shixiao. They couldn't figure out why the young man was the first to fly out. "Phew, that was close. Fortunately, I made it in time," a shout came from behind. When Yi Jin heard the familiar voice, she was stunned for a moment before turning around in disbelief. As expected, she saw Lin Ran standing behind her with a young man she didn't know. "Lin Ran!" Yi Jin cheered and ran over to throw herself into Lin Ran's arms. The fear and panic she had felt along the way finally dissipated, and 2 streams of tears immediately flowed out of her eyes uncontrollably. "Boo-hoo, why are you so late? I thought I would never see you again." Yi Jin buried her face in Lin Ran's arms and cried loudly, as if he wanted to vent all her grievances. She wrapped her arms around Lin Ran's waist tightly, as if she was afraid that if she let go, she would never see Lin Ran again. When Huo Qian saw this scene, he smiled evilly and raised his eyebrows at Lin Ran. "No wonder you asked me to pick them up in such a hurry. It turns out that you found a delicate wife. Don't talk nonsense." Lin Ran glared at Huo Qian and forced a smile at Yi Shixiao, who had just walked over. "Elder Yi, I'm late. Are you guys all right?" "I'm fine. Fortunately, you came in time." Yi Shixiao smiled and looked at Huo Qian. "Is this your friend?" "Yes, his name is Huo Qian." As Lin Ran patted Yi Jin's back, he introduced Huo Qian to the two of them. "Qian, this is Elder Yi Shixiao. He's a famous saber forging master from the Iron City. Greetings, Elder Yi." When Huo Qian heard this, he immediately bowed. Even though he saw the serious burn on Yi Shixiao's face, his face did not show any repulsion. This reaction made Yi Shixiao have a good impression of him. After returning the greeting with the etiquette of the Great Yong dynasty, he looked at Lin Ran and asked in confusion, "Why are you here? Could it be that you really sent that person?" "I sent him." Lin Ran was stunned when he heard this. He pointed at Huo Qian and said, "I only asked him to send you out of the city, but when he arrived at your house, it was already empty. I thought that you felt that the situation was dangerous, so you brought Yi Jin away first. We came out of the city to find you. I didn't expect to meet that person who wanted to harm you, so I saved you." After Lin Ran finished speaking, Huo Qian nodded to show that he was right. However, even without him as a witness, Yi Shixiao wouldn't doubt Lin Ran's words. After a pause, Yi Shixiao briefly explained the situation on his side. Hearing that someone had taken the father and daughter away in his name, Lin Ran couldn't help but look angry. After all, if he hadn't arrived in time, the father and daughter would probably have blamed him for this. "This guy is really despicable." Lin Ran gritted his teeth and cursed, "How dare he use my name to deceive others? He's going too far." At the side, Huo Qian sneered when he heard this. "What right do you have to say such things? Didn't you use my name to deceive people as well? That's not the same thing." Lin Ran waved his hand awkwardly. Then, he handed Yi Jin, who had calmed down, to Yi Shixiao. Then, he rushed towards the young man who was sent flying by his sword. He wanted to see who this guy was. 326 Karma. 30 miles east of the Iron City. Chen Tianqi looked at the smiling Xuan Wushang and tried his best to turn around, but he couldn't because at this moment, he only had a head. His head was placed on the rock, and his body and limbs were cut into countless fist-sized pieces that scattered around the rock like gravel. Even so, Chen Tianqi was still alive and did not feel any discomfort. I have to say that you're indeed more talented than me in torturing people. Xuan Wushang looked at the head and chuckled. Fluttering cloud lay limply on the ground like an ordinary gauze robe. Chen Tianqi gritted his teeth and didn't say anything. Xuan Wushang didn't mind. He casually picked up half of the broken palm from the ground and looked at the blood that was still flowing in the veins under the moonlight. Those who kill will be killed. Xuan Wushang said softly as if he was talking to himself, when you used this method to torture that heavenly saint martial artist, did you think that such a day would come to you? Chen Tianqi still didn't speak. Seeing this, Xuan Wushang sighed helplessly and threw away the broken palm. He said calmly, you know that I can save you, and what you have to do is especially simple. You just have to make a small change to your plan. Why don't you agree? Because I'm not the same kind of person as you. Chen Tianqi finally couldn't help but speak. He stared fixedly at Xuan Wushang, who was inches away from him, but his eyes were filled with fear instead of anger. Have you thought about the consequences of doing this? You're gambling with everyone's lives. Xuan Wushang sat on the ground and asked seriously, I'll give you one last chance. Do you really not want to join? I'd rather die. All right. Xuan Wushang shrugged and really did not insist. He stood up and brushed the sand off his clothes before turning into a cloud and dissipating with the wind. Somewhere outside the Iron City, Lin Ran came to the young man's corpse. Although Yi Shixiao had always called this person Chen Tianqi, he now knew that he was an imposter. However, even though he knew that it was an imposter, Lin Ran was still shocked when he saw the young man's appearance. This was because this face was too similar to Xuan Wushang's. It was understandable that two people in the world looked alike, but even the experienced Lin Ran couldn't help but find it unbelievable that three people who were not related by blood looked so alike. After sizing him up, Lin Ran began to examine him carefully. However, there were really not many clues on this person. Apart from a few tokens to prove his identity, there were only some silver tiles and pills. Even if he couldn't find anything, he knew that this person was definitely with Sun Ji and Chen Tianqi. After returning to the three of them, Lin Ran handed all the money he had to Yi Shixiao. Then, he brought Huo Qian to the side. Send them to the Heavenly Saint Dynasty immediately. Remember not to alert anyone. Huo Qian nodded. After hesitating for a moment, he probed, is Sister Empress included? Millimeter. Lin Ran thought for a moment and nodded. Bring them to Mingjiao Hall first. After I go back, I'll discuss how to settle them with His Majesty. So you're staying here? When Huo Qian heard this, his expression changed slightly. Now that the Heavenly Saint is still looking for you, it won't be long before the news of you being wanted reaches the Great Yong Dynasty. At that time, your situation here will definitely be difficult. It's fine. I don't need that much time. Lin Ran smiled nonchalantly, looking relaxed. Besides, I'm powerful. At most, I'll fight back. That makes sense. All right, I'll leave this to you. Lin Ran patted Huo Qian's shoulder and returned to Yi Shixiao and Yi Jin's side. My friend will send you to the Heavenly Saint Dynasty. You'll be safe there. Yi Shixiao opened his mouth as if to say something, but Lin Ran continued, I'll take care of things here. You don't have to worry. Hearing this, Yi Shixiao hesitated, but in the end, he nodded helplessly. Then I'll leave it to you. Suddenly, Lin Ran felt someone tugging at the corner of his shirt. He looked down and saw Yi Jin staring at him with tears in her eyes. I don't want to go. Yi Jin tugged at the corner of Lin Ran's shirt and whispered, you don't know the way. I can help you if I stay. Are you sure? Lin Ran almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. After all, he had seen Yi Jin's ability to read the map the first time they left the city. Yi Jin knew that Lin Ran was teasing her. Her teary face immediately revealed embarrassment, but she still insisted with a firm gaze, I can definitely help you. Let me stay. Jin, stop fooling around. Yi Shixiao shouted in a low voice and pulled Yi Jin to his side. This is an adult's matter. Why are you causing trouble? I've grown up. Yi Jin shrugged her shoulders and tried to break free, but her strength was still much weaker than her father, who had been forging sabers all year round. No matter how hard she struggled, the calloused hand was like an iron clamp, locking her on the spot and making her unable to move. If I say no, it means no. Yi Shixiao roared. Then, he looked at Lin Ran and Huo Qian. I'm sorry, I didn't teach her well. It's fine. Lin Ran smiled awkwardly and looked at Yi Jin, who was still struggling. Jin, go to the Heavenly Saint City with them first. I'll be back in 2 days at most. No, I'm not leaving. Yi Jin refused firmly and looked at Lin Ran seriously. Let me follow you. Believe me, I can really help you. Lin Ran naturally didn't believe that Yi Jin could help him. However, seeing the determination in Yi Jin's eyes, Lin Ran hesitated for a moment before turning to look at Yi Shixiao. Elder Yi, since she wants to stay, let her stay. Don't worry, I'll take good care of her. But, just as Yi Shixiao was about to say something, Yuo Qian suddenly went forward and whispered something into his ear. Then, a hint of hesitation flashed across Yi Shixiao's face. In the end, he looked at Lin Ran and said seriously, I'll leave Jin to you then. Lin Ran nodded repeatedly. Elder Yi, don't worry, I'll definitely take good care of her. 327 Better be a door than a sayer. Seeing how guilty Yi Jin was, Lin Ran couldn't help but look surprised because he could tell that Yi Jin was hiding something from him. Lin Ran asked softly, although we haven't known each other for long, we've experienced a lot together, right? I even told you my true identity, but you're still hiding something from me? No, I didn't mean to hide it from you. Yi Jin hurriedly waved her hand to defend herself, but she didn't seem to know how to explain. Anxious, she pulled open her collar, revealing her exquisite collarbone and fair skin. Seeing this, Lin Ran blushed and hurriedly turned around. What are you doing? If you have something to say, just say it. Put your clothes back on, or your father will hammer me to death. What are you thinking? I wanted you to see this. When Lin Ran turned his head around, he realized that Yi Jin had already tidied up her clothes and was still holding the necklace that her mother had left behind. Realizing that he was overthinking, Lin Ran blushed even more. He cleared his throat and pretended to be calm. Isn't this left behind by your mother? I took a look at it before, there's nothing wrong with it. That's because I don't want you to find out. Yi Jin said softly, her eyes revealing a maturity that did not match her age. It's a long story. Let me stay and I'll explain it to you slowly. Long story? Lin Ran raised his eyebrows. After being fooled so many times, his first reaction when he heard this was that Yi Jin was playing tricks in order to stay. The reason was very simple. Lin Ran had seen this necklace once before. Not only had he seen it before, but he had even played with it in his hand. Apart from those mysterious patterns, there was nothing special about this necklace. There was no array formation, internal energy fluctuation, or even a small mechanism. The mysterious patterns on the necklace were almost identical to Emperor Xing Yuan's ruby necklace, but even Emperor Xing Yuan didn't understand what the patterns meant. Lin Ran naturally didn't believe that a teenage girl like Yi Jin could understand it. Thinking of this, Lin Ran felt that Yi Jin was lying. Then, he asked with a serious expression, do I look like a brainless person? Yi Jin was stunned when she heard that. No you don't. Then why did you use such a lousy excuse to lie to me? Lin Ran was caught between laughter and tears as he asked, I've checked this necklace before and there's nothing unusual about it. Yi Jin looked at Lin Ran in confusion, as if she didn't understand what Lin Ran meant. After a few seconds, she said, I don't know why you think I'm lying, but I'm really not lying to you. There's a secret on this necklace that I accidentally discovered a few years ago. I thought it was very scary, so I didn't tell anyone. Even my father didn't know. Lin Ran pursed his lips. Then why do you suddenly want to tell me? Because you're a good person. Yi Jin looked straight at Lin Ran and said seriously, I don't know what you want to do, but it must be a very dangerous thing. I'll tell you this secret. Perhaps it can help you. Lin Ran looked at Yi Jin and didn't say anything. Although he was already certain that Yi Jin was playing tricks, looking at Yi Jin's sincere gaze, he had to admit that he was wavering. It was very difficult to fake that sincerity, especially for a teenage girl. All right, I believe you. A moment later, Lin Ran sighed helplessly. Before Yi Jin could be happy, he said with a serious expression, but let me make it clear. If you dare to lie to me, I'll send you away immediately. Deal? Yi Jin nodded in agreement without hesitation and stretched out her slender pinky in front of Lin Ran. Pinky promise. Boring. Lin Ran rolled his eyes, but he still reached out to make a pinky promise with Yi Jin. Then, he looked at Yi Shixiao and said loudly, Elder Yi, since she wants to stay, let her stay. Don't worry, I'll take good care of her. But, Yi Shixiao was about to say something when Huo Qian suddenly walked up to him and raised his right hand to cover his mouth. He said something in a low voice that only the two of them could hear. Then, a hint of hesitation flashed across Yi Shixiao's face. In the end, he nodded helplessly. Jin, you can stay. Thank you, father. Yi Jin immediately cheered. Yi Shixiao turned to look at Lin Ran. Protect Jin well. If a strand of her hair is missing, I'll hold you responsible. Lin Ran nodded repeatedly. Elder Yi, don't worry, I'll definitely protect her well. Yi Shixiao nodded and didn't say anything else. At the side, Huo Qian smiled mischievously and raised his eyebrows at Lin Ran. Then, without caring if Lin Ran understood, he unsheathed his sword and left with Yi Shixiao on the sword. Soon, only Lin Ran and Yi Jin were left in the empty wilderness. Lin Ran turned to look at Yi Jin. Now that there's only the two of us left, can you tell me the secret you discovered? Sure. As Yi Jin spoke, she lifted the corner of Lin Ran's clothes. Then, she took out a small knife the length of a finger and cut off the corner. What are you doing? Lin Ran looked at the large piece of fabric in Yi Jin's hand with heartache. My clothes are very expensive. Then do you still want to know the secret or not? Before Lin Ran could reply, Yi Jin took out a matchstick from her small bag. After lighting the matchstick, she placed it on a metal rod in the necklace and roasted it. The fire brushed past the surface of the metal rod and instantly burned it black. Yi Jin slowly turned the necklace in her hand until the metal rods were all black. Then, she put out the matchstick and carefully wrapped the metal rods with cloth. When the cloth was opened again, the patterns on the metal rods were clearly imprinted on the cloth. Seeing this, Lin Ran's interest was piqued. He couldn't care less about his clothes anymore. He leaned closer and asked, "Did you imprint it? Can you understand the words on it?" "Actually, everyone can understand it. We just need a way." As Yi Jin spoke, she began to repeat the same procedure. After imprinting all the patterns of the metal rods on the fabric, she handed it to Lin Ran. "Look." Lin Ran took the black cloth and felt that the dense patterns were even more difficult to understand. However, just as Lin Ran was about to ask Yi Jin to say something, his eyes suddenly narrowed. He seemed to have really seen something from the patterns. 328 countering each other. In the forest in the southern border of the Great Yong dynasty, countless tall stalagmites were scattered all over the place. The cold moonlight made them look especially formidable. The night wind blew through the countless stalagmites, causing a soft buzzing sound. It was as if a wild beast was roaring, or as if someone was whispering in the darkness. In the silence, a surging cloud floated over from the north. It stretched out like a ball of gauze dancing in the wind, but its speed was shockingly fast. In the blink of an eye, it quietly floated above the forest. Then, the cloud fell to the ground and turned into a young man in white. He looked like a scholar who was well read, but there seemed to be a malicious aura around him. The white-robed young man looked around and said expressionlessly, "Since you're here, show yourself." As soon as he finished speaking, the shadows of the surrounding stalagmites suddenly squirmed as if they were alive. Then, a few black shadows walked out of the darkness. It turned out that they were 4 figures in black cloaks. Covered in black cloaks, it was impossible to tell if they were male or female. Each of them restrained their auras to the limit, as if they were 4 stone statues standing there. "You're late." One of them spoke. His deep voice seemed to come from all directions, making it impossible to tell where it came from. "I encountered an accident and was delayed for a while." The white-robed young man casually cast a sweeping glance over the 4 figures, and his already sinister expression darkened. "Why are there only 4? Someone quit." A deep voice sounded. The tone was as calm as stagnant water, as if it was not a big deal for someone to quit. The white-robed young man nodded and asked casually, "Do you know who quit?" "It is a rule you set that we are not allowed to know each other's identity." The deep voice continued, and there was suddenly a hint of doubt in his calm tone. "Did you forget the rule you set?" "What a joke. How can I forget the rule I set?" The young man in white sneered, and his originally sinister eyes darkened. "I'm just worried that he will expose our plan. To be safe, it's better to confirm it." No one had any object irons. The young man in white curled his lips in satisfaction. "Since no one has any object irons, I'll begin. Is the person from the Hessian dynasty here?" "Yes." The white-robed young man nodded and continued, "Is the person from the Yunqiu dynasty here?" "Yes." "De la dynasty?" "Yes." "Vunuo dynasty?" There was no response for a long time. "Hualuo dynasty?" "Yes." "It seems that the one from the Vunuo dynasty has quit," the white-robed young man said calmly, as if he did not take it to heart. However, what he said next made the other 4 shiver. "Lu Qianli, the envoy of the Vunuo dynasty, is in fact a traitor. 37 years ago, as he entered the realm of Grandmaster, the emperor of the Vunuo dynasty ordered him to retire. However, Lu Qianli was unwilling to retire. In order to coerce the emperor of the Vunuo dynasty into giving him military power, he planned and carried out 27 riots in the next 3 years and killed 11,528 people. As a result, he was wanted for treason and his whereabouts are unknown." At this point, the white-robed young man took out a bag from his pocket. After opening it, there were 19 jade sticks inside. Currently, Lu Qianli is at the 1st level of the senior Grandmaster realm. Moreover, he has a hiding place in the Great Yong dynasty, the Heavenly Saint dynasty, the Dila dynasty, and the Vunuo dynasty. I've already left the exact location on the jade stick. The white-robed young man took out 4 jade sticks and fanned them out in his hand. The dead won't reveal their secrets. You can choose one place each. As for who can cut off his head and make this contribution, it's up to fate. After he finished speaking, the 4 people opposite him did not move or speak for a long time. The atmosphere suddenly became oppressive. After 10 minutes, the deep voice sounded again, but the tone was no longer as calm as before. You investigated our backgrounds? Since I'm going to do something big, I have to be careful. The white-robed young man smiled noncommittally. Even though the atmosphere was so oppressive that time seemed to have stopped, he still had a calm expression on his face. You are all infamous. You can't possibly be afraid of Lu Qianli, right? A sharp voice said angrily, sounding like the cry of a bird. Everyone who participates in the plan should remain incognito. This is what we agreed from the beginning. That's right. Another deep voice agreed. Now that you've secretly investigated us and even know where we live, what exactly are you up to? As the 2 of them questioned the young man, the invisible pressure in the air increased again. Even the sound of the wind stopped as if it was being sucked away. The white-robed young man's clothes fluttered slightly, and his face was still calm. There was a faint smile on his lips, and his attitude was nonchalant, as if the 4 people in front of him were no threat at all. I've said it before. Since I'm going to do something big, I have to be careful. The white-robed young man said calmly, but this time, there was a hint of killing intent in his calm tone. If you don't want to accept it, you can choose to quit. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere suddenly became tense. Now, the 4 of them knew that if they quit, they would die. However, this was not absolute. If the 4 of them joined forces to kill the white-robed young man and destroy the jade sticks, no one would know their true identity. But the problem was, would the 4 of them quit together? When 2 of them were questioning the white-robed young man just now, the other 2 remained silent. It was obvious that they did not mind their identities being known. Just as the 2 of them were hesitating to quit or not, the person standing at the edge suddenly took a few steps forward and took a jade stick from the white-robed young man. He retreated into the darkness and disappeared. 329 code words. Outside the Iron City, under the moonlight, Lin Ran looked at the patterns on the fabric. Although his eyesight was not bad, the imprint was too rough. He had to focus with all his might to barely distinguish what it was. It was not until his eyes were sore and his head was dizzy that Lin Ran finally saw something. Among the complicated patterns, he could vaguely see some lines that looked like strokes. However, he was already dizzy and was not sure if he was hallucinating. Is there a word inside? Lin Ran looked at the fabric and asked, I think I saw some brush strokes, but I can't recognize them at all. It seems that you still have some comprehension. Yi Jin chuckled and stood up. She patted Lin Ran's shoulder like a little adult. Don't be discouraged. It's normal that you can't recognize it because it's not ordinary words, but code words. Code words? Lin Ran frowned in confusion. He had some knowledge of deciphering code words, but the patterns on the fabric were unfathomable to him. Seeing that Lin Ran was confused, Yi Jin didn't explain directly. Instead, she took the piece of fabric and cut off the pattern of each metal rod with a small knife. After completing it, Yi Jin picked up one of them and pointed at a 2-layer vortex pattern on it with the tip of her knife. This is the serial number. The number of circles represents the number. Then, Yi Jin moved the tip of the knife and pointed at a symbol with a sharp tip. This is the direction of the patterns. The sharp ends of all the patterns have to go up. And this? Wait a minute. Lin Ran raised his hand to interrupt Yi Jin and said helplessly, I don't have much time now. Can you just tell me what it means and teach me later? Hearing this, Yi Jin looked troubled. But I don't know what this means. You don't know? Lin Ran held his breath to suppress his anger. Then why did you tell me you know a huge secret? Are you lying to me? I'm not lying to you. This is really a huge secret. Yi Jin hurriedly defended herself. Thinking of how Lin Ran had said that he would send her away if he found out that she was lying, she became nervous. However, the more nervous she was, the more she did not know what to say. After opening her mouth a few times, she could not make a sound. In the end, she simply spread all the pieces of fabric on the ground and began to arrange them in a specific way. There were not many pieces of fabric. Yi Jin quickly finished arranging them. Then, as she looked at the patterns on the fabric, she began to use the knife as a pen to write on the sand. Cloud-breaking / Seeing the first 3 words written by Yi Jin, Lin Ran's expression immediately changed. Previously, when he was in the forest, the system notified him that it was a special place, so Lin Ran used Tu Beituan's heavy sword to sign in. The reward he obtained from the system was also called cloud-breaking slash. However, for some reason, although Lin Ran had obtained cloud-breaking slash, the scroll in his mind was blank. After that, Lin Ran guessed that it was because the weapon was not the right kind, so he started to search for a saber. After entering the Iron City and obtaining the Black Shadow Saber, he hadn't had the chance to check the scroll in his mind. Now that he saw Yi Jin analyze the words cloud-breaking slash from the patterns, Lin Ran couldn't help but wonder if the cloud-breaking slash recorded on the necklace was the same thing he had obtained from the system. Thinking of this, Lin Ran was also interested in the content hidden in the patterns. He took a deep breath and suppressed his excitement. He squatted beside Yi Jin and watched. At the same time, Yi Jin had already analyzed dozens of words from the patterns, but she only used 4 or 5 pieces of fabric. From this, it could be seen how complicated the information hidden in the patterns was. After a long wait, Yi Jin finally shook her sore wrist and stood up. Done. Lin Ran, who was about to fall asleep, perked up when he heard this. He quickly went closer to take a look. There were hundreds of words written densely on the sand. Apart from cloud-breaking slash, the rest of the words seemed to be independent. He could recognize every word, but he didn't know what they meant when put together. The only thing he could understand were the last 8 words, learn it and you can kill the dragon. However, even after figuring this out, Lin Ran still had no clue. Are you sure it's in the right order? Lin Ran pursed his lips and asked suspiciously. It was not that he didn't believe Yi Jin, but these few hundred words were not related to each other at all. Apart from the cloud-breaking slash and the last 8 words, the rest of the words seemed to be in disorder. It must be the right order. Yi Jin nodded heavily and said firmly, when I was young, my mother often played this kind of guessing game with me. I remember it very clearly. I'm not wrong. After confirming that Yi Jin was not wrong, Lin Ran could only conclude that this was a heavenly book. However, Lin Ran didn't give up completely. After all, he still had a chapter on cloud-breaking slash in his mind. Although he didn't know what it was, since it was called cloud-breaking slash, there must be some connection. Thinking of this, Lin Ran silently committed these words to memory. After instructing Yi Jin to wait for a moment, he plunged into his consciousness. In the boundless void, an ancient scroll flickering with golden light slowly appeared in front of Lin Ran. The scroll slowly opened, and lines of words appeared on it. Seeing this, Lin Ran was overjoyed. After quickly looking around, a meaningful smile gradually appeared on his face. I see. 330 Pledging Allegiance. In the forest in the southern border of the Great Yong dynasty, the white-robed young man smiled faintly. There was only one jade stick left in his hand. Opposite him, the mysterious man in a cloak stood silently. His face was completely hidden under the wide hood, but even if one could not see his expression, they could feel the intense anxiety emanating from him. Haven't you thought about it yet? The young man in white asked softly. The remaining jade stick in his hand trembled impatiently. There are only 2 choices. Accept or quit. Is there a need to consider it for so long? That person didn't say anything and only took a half step back with his right foot. Seeing this, the young man in white raised his eyebrows. You want to quit? No, I just want fair cooperation. An unfamiliar voice sounded. The white-robed young man couldn't help but look surprised. He really didn't expect that the last person to speak was actually the guy who didn't say anything from the beginning. After a pause, the white-robed young man tilted his head slightly and sized up the other party with interest. Tell me, what is fair? I want to know who you are. That person said calmly, since you have all the information about us, it's only a matter of time before you find me, but I don't know anything about you. You have to understand that knowing too much might not be a good thing. The white-robed young man replied softly. He did not explicitly refuse, but the meaning in his words was obvious. In that case, we have nothing to talk about. It seems that you've made up your mind to quit. The white-robed young man asked with an indifferent tone, as if he did not care. Then, he flipped his finger and put the last jade stick into his sleeve. He looked straight at the other party and said with a smile, I'll visit you before dusk tomorrow. You seem to have misunderstood. I have no intention of backing out of this plan. The man shook his head. His wide cloak fluttered a few times, and a pair of fair and slender hands reached out. They grabbed the ends of the hood and slowly lifted it back. In an instant, her smooth silver hair cascaded down like the moonlight, revealing a suffocatingly beautiful face. Seeing her beautiful appearance, even the usually calm white-robed young man could not help but be in a daze because this face was really too beautiful. Under the contrast of her silver hair, her already fair skin looked even more delicate. Her eyebrows were slanted to her temples, and under her long and thick eyelashes was a pair of clear eyes. Her mouth and nose were covered by a black veil, but even so, her eyes were still soul-stirring. After an unknown period of time, the white-robed young man came back to his senses. He frowned slightly and asked in a low voice, "Are you a woman?" "Yes." The silver-haired woman nodded slightly and bowed with her hands folded at her waist. "My name is Chugai." Her voice was crisp like a ring or a gurgling stream in the snow mountain. Although it was not bewitching, there was a hint of charm in her tone. If it were anyone else, they would probably be intoxicated by this voice. However, the white-robed young man frowned even more deeply, and even his calm eyes became vigilant. His white robe fluttered, and a faint killing intent spread in the air. The white-robed young man stared at her with a solemn expression and said coldly, "I don't think you are one of the participants in this plan." A smile appeared in Chugai's eyes. "Is that important?" The white-robed young man stared at her for a moment before he suddenly curled his lips and chuckled. "It's indeed not important. Who did you replace?" "Envoy of the Dila dynasty, Wu Jingguo." Chugai replied calmly. Then, right on the heels of that, she changed the topic. "I've already revealed my true identity to you. Can you tell me who you are now?" "Emperor of the Great Yong dynasty, Xuan Wushang." The white-robed young man said calmly, and a dignified aura of an emperor soared into the sky. For a moment, even the starlight in the sky seemed to dim a lot. Feeling the emperor's pressure that made people want to worship him, Xugai's eyes flickered. "It seems that I was right. Chen Tianqi really failed." Xuan Wushang's eyes widened. "You know Chen Tianqi?" Xugai nodded slightly, and the smile in her beautiful eyes deepened. "I might know more about him than you can imagine, but it's meaningless now. Since you're the one who summoned us on his behalf, I believe he's already dead, right?" Xuan Wushang did not answer. He only looked at the other party and asked in a low voice, "What's your motive for using Wu Jingguo's identity to sneak in here?" Chugai frowned slightly as if she was in deep thought. After a moment, she replied with a smile, "For some special reasons, I can't reveal too much." Before Xuan Wushang could speak, Chugai continued, "However, Your Majesty, you can rest assured that what I want doesn't conflict with what you want. I can even help you facilitate your plan. You know what I want?" Xuan Wushang revealed a playful smile. "It seems that I really underestimated you previously. Your Majesty, you flatter me. I was just making a wild guess." Chugai bowed slightly and smiled respectfully. No emperors could resist the temptation to unify the world and be above every living being. Xuan Wushang smiled ambiguously, neither confirming nor denying Chugai's guess. "Since our plans don't conflict, it's not impossible for us to cooperate, but what? Why should I believe you?" Xuan Wushang suddenly stopped smiling. There was no expression on his elegant face, but it made him exude a strong sense of oppression. "You've been hiding your identity for so long. If not for the fact that I discovered your identity coincidentally, I would still be kept in the dark. You didn't put in so much effort just to be a spectator, right? Your Majesty, you're indeed wise." Chugai chuckled. There was no fear in her bell-like voice. "I can pledge my allegiance." "Oh?" Xuan Wushang narrowed his eyes in interest. "How do you want to pledge your allegiance then? If I'm not wrong, Your Majesty should be very familiar with the name Lin Ran, right?" Chugai smiled faintly. Her voice was still as pleasant as ever, but her clear eyes were filled with coldness. "As long as Your Majesty is willing to give me this chance, I'll bring Lin Ran's head here before dusk tomorrow." Hearing that the other party was going to use Lin Ran's head to pledge her allegiance, Xuan Wushang couldn't help but look a little strange. He stared at that beautiful face for a long time without saying anything, as if he was hesitating or guessing if the other party really meant it. 331 Work and rest. A good rest is half the battle. Outside the Iron City in the wilderness, Lin Ran had just let out a breath and opened his eyes when Yi Jin immediately leaned over. "How is it? Did you figure out something? How do you know that?" Lin Ran looked at Yi Jin in surprise. His first reaction was that this girl could read his mind, but it turned out that he was overthinking. "You closed your eyes and then started smiling after a while. If you didn't figure out something, then there must be something wrong with your brain." Yi Jin looked at Lin Ran as if she was looking at an idiot. "Is there something wrong with your brain?" "Of course not." Lin Ran rolled his eyes angrily. Then, he raised his foot and wiped away most of the words written on the sand. Seeing this, Yi Jin panicked. "What are you doing? It wasn't easy for me to write this." "It's fine. Everything is in here." Lin Ran reached out his index finger and pointed at his temple. Before Yi Jin could speak, he put on a serious expression and said, "I know I've agreed to it, but the situation ahead of us might be very dangerous, so I still want to send you to the Heavenly Saint dynasty first." When Yi Jin heard this, she frowned. "What do you mean?" I just told you this secret and you want to kick me to the curb when I've outlived my usefulness. I'm not kicking you to the curb. I'm doing this for your safety. Lin Ran explained patiently. I already know what these words mean, so I can't let you follow me anymore. This is also what your mother wants. Hearing that it was her mother's idea, Yi Jin was stunned for a moment before she became excited. Are you saying that these are my mother's last words? What did my mother say? Well, Lin Ran hesitated for a moment before shaking his head in embarrassment. Sorry, I can't tell you. Then I won't leave. Yi Jin pouted. Lin Ran wasn't in the mood to bicker with her. He said seriously, as I've said before, this is for your safety. I can take care of myself. Yi Jin interrupted Lin Ran rudely and suddenly raised the knife to her neck. If you don't let me stay, I'll die here. Let's see how you are going to explain my death to my father. Don't be rash. Lin Ran was so frightened that his face turned pale. He waved his hand to signal Yi Jin to calm down. His tone softened. I didn't say that I have to send you away. I was just discussing it with you. If you don't want to leave, then don't. Is that good? Really? Yi Jin looked at Lin Ran suspiciously. Seeing Lin Ran nod, she immediately stuck out her pinky. Pinky promise. Lin Ran quickly reached out and held Yi Jin's pinky. After he made a promise, Yi Jin finally put down the knife on her neck. Seeing that there was only a shallow red mark on Yi Jin's fair neck, Lin Ran heaved a sigh of relief and muttered to himself, what's wrong with children these days? Why is she threatening me with her life? Is this what a child is supposed to do? What did you say? Yi Jin asked with a frown. She raised the knife and was about to put it to her neck again. Nothing. I'm memorizing the sword manual. Lin Ran hurriedly waved his hand and explained. When Yi Jin was not paying attention, he snatched the knife and threw it far away. Then, he said seriously, it's fine if you want to follow me, but you have to promise me one thing. You have to cherish your life in the future. Do you understand? When Yi Jin saw Lin Ran's serious look, her face suddenly turned red. She nodded and replied softly, got it. I hope you really do. Lin Ran sighed helplessly and stood up to wipe the remaining words away. After making sure that no one couldn't read the words, he clapped his hands. All right, let's go. Where are we going? Return to the city. In the forest of the Great Yong dynasty, Xuan Wushang narrowed his eyes at Chu Gai, his deep voice filled with suspicion. What ability do you have to kill him? As he spoke, Xuan Wushang released a wisp of divine sense and swept it across Chu Gai. The questioning tone in his voice immediately increased. You are only at the first level of the Grandmaster realm. Do you know what realm Lin Ran is in now? Above half-saint. Chu Gai replied calmly, as if a half-saint was nothing to her. How arrogant. Xuan Wushang snorted, his eyes filled with disdain. With your cultivation, even if you get close to Lin Ran with your beauty and catch him off guard, it'll probably be very difficult for you to succeed, right? I have my ways. You don't have to worry about me, Your Majesty. Chu Gai replied in a gentle voice, if I can bring Lin Ran's head here, can you give me a chance to join forces with you? Xuan Wushang did not answer immediately. Instead, after thinking for a long time, he nodded slightly. If you can bring Lin Ran's head here, you're naturally qualified to join forces with me. Deal. Chu Gai's eyes curled up as she bowed to Xuan Wushang again. Then I'll take my leave first. I'll come here at dusk tomorrow. Xuan Wushang waved his hand expressionlessly. Only then did Chu Gai put on her hood again to cover her face and quietly retreat into the darkness and disappear. In the blink of an eye, only Xuan Wushang was left in the forest. The bleak night wind blew past the stalagmites, making a low whimpering sound, as if invisible ghosts were hiding in all the shadows. Chu Gai. Xuan Wushang muttered thoughtfully, and the corners of his mouth slowly curled into an ambiguous smile. Interesting. In the Yi family's house in the north of the Iron City, looking at the familiar environment at home, Yi Jin suddenly felt a headache coming on. She would never have thought that after she threatened Lin Ran with her life, the first thing they would do was go home and sleep. Didn't you say that time is running out? Yi Jin asked with a strange expression. Why do you still have time to sleep? Of course I have to rest well before doing something big. A good rest is already half the battle. Lin Ran replied casually and walked towards his room. Go and rest too. It's getting late. We have to get up early tomorrow. Looking at Lin Ran's back as he walked away lazily, Yi Jin was speechless. However, she quickly realized that things were not that simple. The situation was so tense now that even Yi Jin could feel it, but Lin Ran didn't seem to care at all. This was very abnormal. Does he want to leave alone while I'm asleep? 332 Empty City, a deja vu scene. In the Yi family's house in the Iron City, As the night deepened, the bright moon gradually sank into the west, and the moonlight shone through the window on the ground also dimmed. Lin Ran lay on the bed and snored like thunder, but his eyes were wide open. At the same time, he pricked up his ears to listen to the commotion outside because ever since he entered the room and lay down, he had not heard Yi Jin go upstairs. Could it be that she noticed it? Lin Ran thought to himself, but he felt that it was impossible. After all, his acting just now could be described as perfect. How could he not be able to fool a teenage girl? He waited patiently for another 15 minutes, but there was still no sound of anyone going upstairs. However, Lin Ran couldn't wait any longer. It wasn't that he was impatient, but if he waited any longer, it would be dawn. Lin Ran guessed that Yi Jin was afraid of disturbing his rest, so she walked very softly when she went upstairs. As he maintained his thunderous snoring, he nimbly got off the bed and walked towards the back window. Creak! When the window fan opened, it made a strange sound, but it was unnoticeable under the cover of Lin Ran's snoring. Therefore, Lin Ran didn't mind. He pushed open the window fan completely with the sound of snoring and was about to jump out when he suddenly heard Yi Jin ask from behind, "Where are you going so late at night?" Lin Ran was shocked. He turned around and saw that the door had opened at some point. Yi Jin was standing at the door in a loose coat and staring at him expressionlessly. Caught red-handed, Lin Ran, who had always been glib-tongued, couldn't help but feel speechless. He held the window with one hand and lifted his clothes with the other. He stood by the window for a long time, but he couldn't say anything. HMPH, I knew you were fooling me. Yi Jin rolled her eyes at Lin Ran and walked in to sit by the bed. Tell me, are you going to leave me behind? No, Lin Ran subconsciously wanted to deny it, but after thinking about it carefully, he nodded. I want to go out alone to do something, but I'll be back, I promise. Yi Jin glanced at the back window that was pushed open. Do you think I'll still believe you? When Lin Ran heard this, he immediately felt aggrieved, but he was indeed in the wrong this time. He couldn't say anything else and could only sigh helplessly. How about this? I'll bring you along, but you're very tired today. Sleep for a while before we set off. I'm not tired. Let's go now. Yi Jin took a deep breath and shook her head. Her voice sounded energetic, but her eyes were clearly unfocused. Lin Ran smiled bitterly. After closing the window, he cut off a piece of cloth and tied one end to his wrist. Then, he placed the other end in Yi Jin's hand. You can sleep here while I meditate beside you. With this rope, you don't have to worry about me sneaking away. Yi Jin looked at the cloth that connected the two of them. If you lie to me again, I'll ignore you forever. Yi Jin looked at Lin Ran and said seriously. Lin Ran nodded solemnly and sat cross-legged on the ground beside the bed. Yi Jin pulled the rope and lay on the bed. At first, she would occasionally open her eyes to see if Lin Ran was around, but after a few minutes, she fell asleep. Hearing Yi Jin's increasingly calm breathing, Lin Ran looked at the cloth on his wrist and smiled helplessly before slowly closing his eyes. In the blink of an eye, the sky lit up. A rooster crowed from somewhere in the city. Lin Ran slowly let out a breath and opened his eyes. He raised his hand and patted Yi Jin, who was still sleeping soundly. Wake up, we're leaving. Huh? Leaving? Where are we going? Yi Jin opened her eyes in a daze and was stunned when she saw Lin Ran in front of her. Then, she suddenly picked up a pillow and threw it at him. You lecher! How dare you barge into a girl's room? Are you crazy? Lin Ran dodged the pillow and looked at the furious Yi Jin. Open your eyes and take a good look. Whose bedroom is this? Yi Jin looked around suspiciously before remembering what happened last night. A hint of embarrassment immediately appeared on her childish face. Seeing Yi Jin's reaction, Lin Ran knew that she was completely awake. He untied the cloth on his wrist and said, I'm going to the magistrate's office later. You can continue sleeping if you want. I'll come back to pick you up after I'm done. No need, I'll go with you. When Yi Jin heard this, she quickly shook her head. Then, she patted her face to wake herself up. However, how could the tiredness and haggardness she had been experiencing for the past few days be so easily concealed? Lin Ran saw how haggard Yi Jin was, but he didn't say anything. He stood up, tidied up his clothes, and turned to leave. After a while, Yi Jin, who was dressed neatly, followed him out. On the empty street, Lin Ran and Yi Jin walked side by side. The thin morning fog condensed into a thin layer of dew on the metal ground. Lin Ran had to focus all his attention to prevent himself from slipping. On the other hand, Yi Jin, who was at the side, walked lightly. It was obvious that she was already used to walking on the slippery ground. As they walked, Yi Jin suddenly asked in confusion, That's a little strange. Why isn't there anyone on the street? Maybe it's too early? Lin Ran replied casually, Suddenly, he slipped and almost embarrassed himself. Fortunately, Yi Jin's attention was not on him. She looked around and frowned. But usually at this hour, there are already people coming out to sell food. There's no one on the street today. Something must have happened. Seeing that Yi Jin was so certain, Lin Ran couldn't help but be suspicious. Then, he stopped in his tracks and released his divine sense. Then, his expression changed. I think you're right. Lin Ran frowned and said softly. With a flash of white light, the yin-yang sword appeared in his hand. I used my divine sense to scan the surroundings just now. There are only the two of us within 150 meters. When Yi Jin heard this, she became nervous. How did this happen? Did something happen in the city? I don't think so. Lin Ran shook his head. After thinking for a moment, he pulled Yi Jin behind him and pushed open the door of the nearest house. When the door opened, a spacious living room came into view. There were tea and snacks on the metal table. It looked like they were prepared for guests, but there was no one in the house. Seeing this scene, Lin Ran couldn't help but recall the scene on the Eight-Directional Mountain. At that time, the people from the Eight-Directional Mountain sect also mysteriously disappeared. Later on, he found out that it was Lu Hongshan and Xiao Huari who did it. However, Lu Hongshan and Xiao Huari were not here. Who else could have done it? 333 Important Task. After thinking for a moment, Lin Ran released his divine sense to explore a larger area. Then, he heaved a sigh of relief. We're overthinking. Yi Jin frowned in confusion. What do you mean? Lin Ran raised his hand and drew a circle in the air. Within 150 meters, it is empty, but further away from that, everything is as usual. Hearing this explanation, the confusion in Yi Jin's eyes intensified. But why is there no one within 150 meters? Where did they go? How would I know? Lin Ran smiled bitterly and shrugged. Before Yi Jin could speak, he continued, in short, everything is normal in the city, at least for the time being. Don't worry, let's go. Yi Jin looked at the empty living room again and opened her mouth as if to say something, but in the end, she didn't say anything. She nodded and set off with Lin Ran. After that, just as Lin Ran had said, after the two of them walked for a while, the street slowly became lively. Although there were not many pedestrians passing by, it was still more normal than the empty street just now. See, I told you it was fine, right? Lin Ran looked at Yi Jin, who was frowning, and said with a smile, those people probably went out to do something together. Don't worry. Yi Jin raised her eyebrows. Dozens of families went out to do something together, but no one told my family. Lin Ran really didn't know how to explain. He could only pretend not to hear it and continue walking. In silence, the two of them arrived at the magistrate's office. Seeing the destination, Yi Jin revealed a puzzled expression. What are we here for? To attend an appointment. Lin Ran replied in a subtle tone. Before Yi Jin could ask further, he knocked on the door. Not long after, the door opened and a young man in black stuck his head out. He yawned and said impatiently, His Lordship is not up yet. Come back later. With that, the man closed the door. Lin Ran took a step forward and blocked the door from closing. I'm not looking for His Lordship. I'm here to look for Sun Ji. Looking for Brother Sun? The young man frowned slightly and hesitated for a moment before nodding. Wait here. I'll go inform him. Yi Jin asked in confusion, didn't he want to catch you? Why did you come looking for him? Him wanting to catch me is just a misunderstanding. Lin Ran crossed his arms and replied with a smile, now that the misunderstanding has been resolved, why can't I come to look for him? Yi Jin blinked, clearly not understanding. However, seeing how confident Lin Ran was, she didn't say anything else. The two of them waited quietly at the entrance of the magistrate's office for a few minutes before the tightly shut door finally opened. It was still the same person who came out. Brother Sun asked me to take you in. At this point, the man glanced at Yi Jin before turning his gaze back to Lin Ran. But he said that he'll only see you. As soon as he finished speaking, before Lin Ran could speak, Yi Jin exploded. Why? Why wouldn't he see me? How would I know? Anyway, that's what Brother Sun said. The man replied casually. His gaze landed on Lin Ran's face and his tone became impatient again. Are you coming in or not? If not, I'll go back to sleep. Lin Ran nodded repeatedly. Actually, he had long guessed that this would happen. After all, Sun Ji and Chen Tianqi were ordered to kill Yi Jin's mother back then. Sun Ji would definitely feel a little uncomfortable when he saw Yi Jin. It was also because of this that Lin Ran wanted to sneak over to meet him last night. However, he was caught by Yi Jin in a moment of carelessness. Seeing that Lin Ran agreed, the man stepped aside to make way. Lin Ran was about to enter when he suddenly thought of something and asked, "By the way, it's not good to let a girl wait outside so early in the morning. Can she wait for me inside?" The man thought for a moment and nodded. Lin Ran looked at Yi Jin and said, "Wait for me. I'll look for you in 15 minutes at most." Yi Jin looked like she wanted to refuse, but before she could speak, Lin Ran said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "Be good. Besides, I have an important task for you." Hearing that there was an important task, Yi Jin immediately perked up. "What task?" Lin Ran smiled and whispered into her ear. After hearing it, Yi Jin looked puzzled. "Is this the important task you mentioned? But why do I feel that it's a pointless task? I knew you wouldn't understand the importance of it." Lin Ran's expression turned serious. He patted Yi Jin's shoulder and said seriously, "This task is extremely important. Please do it seriously because it concerns our lives." "That important?" Yi Jin's expression instantly turned solemn. Then, she nodded heavily with a serious expression. "I'll definitely do my best. Thank you." Lin Ran gave her an affirmative look. When he turned to look at the man, he put on a relaxed expression. "Let's go." The man turned around and brought the two of them into the magistrate's office. He first found a room for Yi Jin to wait before bringing Lin Ran to see Sun Ji. After the two of them left, Yi Jin immediately closed the door and windows. Then, she took off the necklace she was wearing and wiped it carefully. As she wiped it, she was wondering why the cleanness of this necklace concerned her and Lin Ran's lives. On the other side, Lin Ran was brought to another room not far away. When he entered, Sun Ji was already waiting in the room. Seeing Lin Ran enter, Sun Ji perked up. After greeting him, he said to the man who led the way, "Thank you for your hard work. Go back and rest." The man agreed and turned to leave. Only then did Sun Ji look at Lin Ran warily. "Why are you here again? Didn't I tell you everything last night?" "Yes, you did. That's why I'm not here for you today." Lin Ran smiled casually. Before he could finish speaking, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and right on the heels of that, the smile on his face disappeared. "He's here." 334 Life and Death of the Country. Before Sun Ji could open and ask when a strange breeze suddenly swept up in the courtyard. Then, a ball of white fog quietly landed on the ground like a cloud. The wind blew and the clouds dissipated. A young man in white appeared from the clouds. He exuded a scholarly aura, but there was an indescribable maliciousness in his eyes. "Tianqi?" Sun Ji recognized the person. He didn't know that the real Chen Tianqi had been killed, but now he realized why Lin Ran was here today. Last night, Lin Ran said that Chen Tianqi would come to look for him this morning, but Lin Ran said that he wasn't here for him. Then, who Lin Ran was here for was obvious. At the same time, Chen Tianqi also saw Lin Ran. He frowned slightly and looked at Sun Ji with a sinister gaze. "Why is he here?" "I'm here to see you." Without waiting for Sun Ji to explain, Lin Ran took the initiative to step forward. He crossed his arms and sized up the other party with a playful smile. "Should I call you Your Majesty now or Chen Tianqi?" Chen Tianqi's eyes flickered, but he didn't say anything. Sun Ji walked out of the door and sighed helplessly. "Tianqi, he already knows about it." Hearing this, Chen Tianqi's malicious eyes suddenly turned cold. "Did you spill the beans?" Sun Ji opened his mouth but didn't say anything because he didn't know how to explain it. Although Lin Ran had guessed most of it himself, if he had been more careful back then, Lin Ran might not be able to guess it. Seeing that Sun Ji was silent for a long time, Chen Tianqi sighed unhappily and turned to look at Lin Ran, who was smiling. "What do you want?" "Cooperation." Lin Ran went straight to the point. "I think you know very well that Xuan Wushang is gone. No one knows when he will appear and what he will do after he appears." Chen Tianqi looked down at the ground and did not speak. He frowned slightly as if he was hesitating. After a few minutes, he looked up and asked, "What benefits can I obtain from cooperating with you?" "I can let you die a bit later." Lin Ran replied in a relaxed tone, as if he was talking about something trivial. However, Chen Tianqi and Sun Ji's expressions changed at the same time. "Let me die later." Chen Tianqi's eyes turned cold, and the white robe that covered his body fluttered even though there was no wind. "We don't seem to have grudges against each other, do we?" "No, we don't, but you owe me a life," Lin Ran said, and his originally relaxed expression gradually turned cold. "Don't think you can get away with taking Zhu Hao's life." "Zhu Hao?" Chen Tianqi looked confused, as if he didn't know what Lin Ran was talking about. After recalling for a moment, he nodded in realization. "You mean the person who was secretly investigating Nanjiang town, right? So his name is Zhu Hao." Hearing the disdainful tone, Lin Ran's expression darkened. Chen Tianqi still didn't seem to care. He nodded slightly and admitted, I killed him, but before that, I had already warned him to stop. However, he chose to die. How can I be blamed for that? Whatever you say. In short, I'll definitely hold you accountable for Zhu Hao's death. Lin Ran replied coldly with a dark expression, but if you agree to cooperate, I can kill you a bit later. At the very least, I can give you some time to make up for your regret. How considerate. Chen Tianqi grinned. However, with his sinister expression, no matter how one looked at it, one would think that his grin was strange. Tianqi, sensing the tense atmosphere, Sun Ji took a few steps forward and stood between the two of them. It was my negligence not to keep it a secret, but after thinking about it carefully last night, I think it's not a bad thing. Oh? Chen Tianqi asked with interest. Why do you say that? We did all of this for. Sun Ji subconsciously blurted out, but he suddenly stopped mid-sentence. He looked at Lin Ran warily and continued, our goals don't conflict. In addition, he's quite strong. If we can get his help, won't it be easier to achieve our goals? But how do you know that his goal doesn't conflict with ours? Chen Tianqi said calmly. Although he was talking to Sun Ji, his eyes were fixed on Lin Ran. We don't even know what his motive is. Well, Sun Ji didn't know what to say. Although Lin Ran had said a few things about his goal, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that he was not being completely honest. As for Lin Ran's true goal, Sun Ji didn't even have a clue. Thinking of this, Sun Ji turned to look at Lin Ran at the door. If you really want to cooperate, show your sincerity. As soon as he finished speaking, Sun Ji stared at Lin Ran with a burning gaze, looking like he would fall out with him if he didn't tell him the truth. However, in fact, Sun Ji was not confident. After all, Lin Ran's cultivation was extraordinary and he had the entire Heavenly Saint dynasty backing him. No matter what, there was no need for Lin Ran to cooperate with them. However, to Sun Ji's surprise, after hearing his words, Lin Ran really said sincerely, I want to overthrow the Great Yong dynasty. Lin Ran's voice was not loud, but these 8 words were like 8 thunderclaps that exploded in Sun Ji's ears. Even Chen Tianqi widened his eyes in shock. Overthrow the Great Yong dynasty? How presumptuous of him to say such a thing in front of 2 people from the Great Yong dynasty. After a few minutes, Sun Ji came back to his senses and asked in disbelief, what did you just say? I want to overthrow the Great Yong dynasty. Lin Ran repeated it without hiding anything. His eyes darted back and forth between the two of them. Don't you want to liberate the Iron City? Overthrow the Great Yong dynasty with me and let the Heavenly Saint dynasty become the new ruler of this place. At that time, your goal will naturally be achieved. Sun Ji looked at Lin Ran with a subtle expression. His first reaction was that Lin Ran was talking nonsense. However, when Sun Ji saw the seriousness in Lin Ran's eyes, he realized that Lin Ran was not joking. He really wanted to join forces with them to overthrow the Great Yong dynasty. Aren't you being too confident? Sun Ji's face darkened as he said coldly, what makes you think we'll betray our own country? As soon as Sun Ji finished speaking, the surrounding temperature seemed to have dropped below freezing point. Wisps of cold wind blades wreaked havoc and circled around, emitting ear-piercing screeches. It was as if countless ferocious beasts were prepared to tear Lin Ran into pieces at any moment. 335 Taking what you need. Sun Ji placed his hand on the hilt of the saber at his waist, and the white robe on Chen Tianqi fluttered restlessly. However, Lin Ran just watched quietly as the countless sharp wind blades swept past him. His expression was as relaxed as if he was bathing in the spring breeze. After a short but suffocating silence, Lin Ran burst out laughing. Why are you so excited? I didn't say that I had to overthrow the Great Yong dynasty. Sun Ji was stunned. What do you mean? It means that I originally wanted to overthrow the Great Yong dynasty. Lin Ran shrugged nonchalantly and replied indifferently, but after thinking about it carefully, I realized that there's no need to tire myself out, but this is indeed my goal, so when you asked, I told you, it's that simple. Sun Ji did not say anything. He turned around and looked at Chen Tianqi. Both of them had strange expressions on their faces. After a few seconds, Chen Tianqi asked, then if you are not going to overthrow the Great Yong dynasty anymore, do you have any other motives? Kill Quan Wushang and Lu Hongshan. Lin Ran replied without hesitation. After a pause, he looked at Chen Tianqi in the courtyard. And you? Chen Tianqi made Zhu Hao die a horrible death in the forest. Killing him was Lin Ran's promise to Zhu Hao. Quan Wushang allowed Lu Ruqi to nurture martial artists with evil methods. As a martial artist, Lin Ran naturally had to uphold justice. Back then, in order to improve his cultivation, Lu Hongshan killed a total of more than 3,000 people in 7 villages near Mount Sword. In short, Lin Ran could ignore the conflicts between those countries, but he had to kill these 3 people. On the other side, Sun Ji had been living in the city for a long time and had no idea who Lu Hongshan was. However, the remaining 2 names were enough to shock him. Can you not kill them? Sun Ji asked subconsciously. As soon as he said that, he felt that he was an idiot. As expected, Lin Ran only shrugged in response to this question. He was not even in the mood to answer. Chen Tianqi suddenly asked, "If I'm not wrong, you want us to help you kill Lu Hongshan, right?" "That's right." Lin Ran nodded and said seriously, "Lu Hongshan's strength is comparable to mine. If I fight him head-on, my chances of winning are less than 50%. Is Lu Hongshan actually so powerful?" Sun Ji was shocked. Although he had never seen Lin Ran use his full strength, he knew that Lin Ran's strength was definitely beyond his reach. But now, even Lin Ran said that his chances of winning were less than 50%. How terrifying was Lu Hongshan? Moreover, what could he and Chen Tianqi do to help him fight such a powerful enemy? Not only was Sun Ji puzzled, but Chen Tianqi was also puzzled. Chen Tianqi frowned and asked in confusion, "Are you joking? Our strength is far inferior to yours. How can we kill someone who's on par with you?" Lin Ran smiled and looked at Chen Tianqi meaningfully. "Of course you don't have the ability, but Xuan Wushang does." Hearing the words Xuan Wushang, Chen Tianqi's eyes narrowed slightly, but he quickly composed himself. "I don't understand what you mean. It's actually very simple." Lin Ran stretched out his finger and drew a circle in the air. "I'll prepare a trap that can kill him, but we fought too many times and know each other too well. If I use myself as bait, he'll definitely be suspicious." Chen Tianqi asked, "So you want me to summon Lu Hongshan and get him to walk into the trap?" Lin Ran stared at Chen Tianqi for a while before nodding with a smile. "How is it? Isn't it simple?" "It does sound simple, but there's still a premise." Chen Tianqi paused for a moment, as if he was hesitating if he should say it. "We can't let him know that we're working together, right?" Lin Ran continued what Chen Tianqi wanted to say. Then, he spread his hands and said casually, "This is even simpler. After all, only the 3 of us know." With that, Lin Ran glanced at Sun Ji. Although he didn't say a word, his penetrating gaze made Sun Ji uncomfortable. "I won't spill beans this time." Sun Ji patted his chest and promised. Chen Tianqi said calmly, his gaze still on Lin Ran, "I can help you, but Lu Hongshan is very cautious. If we don't want him to notice that we're working together, we have to minimize your involvement in this plan." Hearing this, Sun Ji immediately nodded in agreement. "Tianqi, I think he's right. Actually, our plan is almost perfect. There are just a few stumbling blocks. Previously, we couldn't deal with them because we weren't strong enough. However, with his help, we will definitely be able to make those people disappear without anyone knowing. At that time, we can take the opportunity to push our plan forward and complete it." As if convinced by Sun Ji's words, Chen Tianqi finally nodded with a sinister expression. "In that case, I hope our cooperation will be fruitful." Lin Ran smiled. In the next second, he suddenly appeared in front of Chen Tianqi. He was so fast that even Sun Ji, who was standing between the 2 of them, did not notice it. Almost at the same time, Chen Tianqi's pupils constricted, and the white robe on his body suddenly billowed. However, Lin Ran didn't attack him. He only stretched out his right hand and looked at him with a smile. "I wish us a happy cooperation." Chen Tianqi didn't say anything. He narrowed his eyes, looking at Lin Ran's right hand, his malicious eyes filled with vigilance. Seeing the other party's vigilant expression, Lin Ran explained, "This is a new etiquette that has been popular in the Heavenly Saint dynasty recently. By shaking hands, the cooperation will be officially established." "Is there such etiquette?" Chen Tianqi's eyes were filled with suspicion, but in the end, he still reached out to shake hands with Lin Ran. No one noticed that the moment the 2 of them shook hands, an extremely faint sword intent was released from Lin Ran's palm. A corner of fluttering cloud was cut off and fell into Lin Ran's sleeve with the wind. 336 Wealth comes from risk. When the piece of fluttering cloud slipped into his sleeve, Lin Ran couldn't help but tremble. An ecstasy surged from the bottom of his heart like a fountain. His guess was right. That was indeed what cloud breaking slash was about. The so-called cloud breaking slash was not a cultivation technique or saber manual at all, but something similar to an instruction manual. This manual was for the number 1 saber in the famous saber manual, the supreme treasure passed down from generation to generation in the Great Yong dynasty's royal family, Fluttering Cloud. Looking at Fluttering Cloud that was moving without wind, Lin Ran was overcome with excitement. Now that he knew how to control Fluttering Cloud, he could even strip it of Chen Tianqi's body if he wanted to. Now, this famous saber that had once given him a headache was no longer a threat to him. However, Lin Ran was not in a hurry to snatch it from Chen Tianqi. The ecstasy in his heart was perfectly concealed by his expression. Lin Ran shook Chen Tianqi's hand a few times. After letting go, he turned around and held Sun Ji's hand. Happy cooperation. Sun Ji nodded awkwardly, as if he was not used to holding hands with a man. After retracting his hand, Sun Ji asked with a serious expression, "Since it's a cooperation, I'll be straightforward with you. We both need each other's help in our plans, so it's impossible for us to carry out our plans at once. So, which plan do you want to carry out first?" Lin Ran was stunned when he heard this. He had never thought of this before. After all, even the cooperation was a spur-of-the-moment idea he had last night. Seeing that Lin Ran was silent, Sun Ji sighed and said tentatively, "My suggestion is that you help us first." As soon as he finished speaking, Sun Ji became visibly nervous. However, to Sun Ji's surprise, Lin Ran was not angry when he heard this suggestion. Instead, he looked interested. "Why? Here is what I think." Although Sun Ji didn't know what Lin Ran was thinking, he still explained his thoughts as succinctly as possible. "If you kick us to the curb when we've outlived our usefulness after dealing with Lu Hongshan, we can't do anything to you." "That's true." Lin Ran nodded noncommittally, and the expression of interest on his face became more obvious. "But what if you turn your back on me after I help you? Then you can kill us or destroy everything we've worked so hard to obtain." Sun Ji smiled sadly and looked at Lin Ran with helplessness and despair. "You're so strong. This kind of thing is nothing to you." Lin Ran smiled and didn't say anything. This reaction made Sun Ji nervous again because even though their cooperation was established, he still didn't feel that Lin Ran needed his help. No one would be willing to lower themselves to cooperate with people weaker than them, and Lin Ran was naturally no exception. The strange silence lasted for a few minutes. Just as Sun Ji was about to break the silence, Lin Ran finally nodded. "Tell me, who do you want to kill?" Sun Ji blinked, as if he couldn't believe what he had heard. He asked in ecstasy, "So you agree? It's a piece of cake anyway." Lin Ran waved his hand indifferently and said, "Although I can kill Lu Hongshan without you, if doing something small can make things easier for me, why not?" After a pause, Lin Ran sized up the two of them with a playful gaze and chuckled. "Besides, I don't feel guilty about killing people from the Great Yong dynasty." Sun Ji took a step forward and said seriously, "You've misunderstood. We don't want you to kill anyone. It's enough to take them away and lock them up so that our plan can be carried out smoothly." "Huh? I don't have to kill anyone?" Lin Ran looked disappointed and turned to look at the silent Chen Tianqi. "You don't intend to kill anyone either?" Chen Tianqi didn't say anything and only nodded expressionlessly. "Fine." Lin Ran shrugged helplessly. Then, he thought of something and added, "By the way, let me make it clear first. I'll try my best not to kill anyone, but if someone doesn't know what's good for them and fights me, I won't be responsible if I accidentally kill a few of them." Sun Ji and Chen Tianqi looked at each other and nodded helplessly. After all, the difference in strength between the two sides was obvious. Lin Ran had already made a concession. If they continued to push their luck, they would regret it. Seeing that they had reached a consensus, Lin Ran clapped his hands. "I've said everything I need to say. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Later, write a list of the people you want to capture and send it to the Yi family." With that, Lin Ran turned around and left. He had promised Yi Jin that he would look for her in 15 minutes. Now, it was almost time. Sun Ji and Chen Tianqi stood rooted to the ground and watched silently. Only when Lin Ran's figure disappeared into the distance did Sun Ji look at Chen Tianqi. "Isn't this a little too risky?" Chen Tianqi smiled disapprovingly. "Wealth comes from risk." Sun Ji sighed with a solemn expression and muttered to himself, "Wealth comes from risk, but it's also lost in risk." Chen Tianqi raised his hand, and a wisp of fog separated from Fluttering Cloud and floated to Sun Ji's shoulder. "There's nothing we can do about it. At the very least, compared to those people, Lin Ran is more predictable. At least, he has his own bottom line." Hearing the words "those people," Sun Ji seemed to perk up. "How's the situation on your side? The last step is about to begin. Nothing should go wrong at this time. Don't worry, everything is fine on my end." Chen Tianqi revealed a comforting smile and said in a subtle tone, "The people of the other 5 countries are already in position. When they die, no one will know that we did this." Sun Ji still sighed with a complicated expression. "I hope so." 337 Another wave rises. In a room in the magistrate's office in the Iron City, Yi Jin leaned on the table and carefully wiped the necklace her mother had left for her. The places that she had blackened with fire last night were already as bright as new. At this moment, she was using the small knife she carried with her to carefully clean the dirt in the joints and the small gaps. Every segment of these metal rods was only the thickness of a chopstick and the length of a knuckle. It was definitely a huge task to completely clean them up. Fortunately, Yi Jin had patience that didn't match her age. However, because she was too focused, she didn't even notice that Lin Ran was already standing behind her. Seeing Yi Jin looking serious, Lin Ran suddenly felt a little bad. In fact, he had casually made up such an important task just now to keep Yi Jin busy. He thought that Yi Jin was young and could be fooled easily, but he did not expect her to take it so seriously. Ahem. Lin Ran cleared his throat. Yi Jin, who was focused, was shocked. She turned around and heaved a sigh of relief when she saw who it was. Why didn't you make a sound when you came in? Are you trying to scare me? Yi Jin rolled her eyes. She was clearly certain that Lin Ran did it intentionally. Lin Ran laughed dryly and pointed at the necklace in Yi Jin's hand. How's the cleaning going? There are still many gaps to be cleaned. Yi Jin pouted and said unhappily, these gaps are too small. It's very troublesome to clean them up. I still can't figure out what this necklace has to do with our lives. It's a secret that can't be revealed. You'll know when the time comes. Lin Ran pretended to be mysterious and chuckled. Then, he waved his hand and said, all right, I'm done with my business. Let's go home first. All right. Yi Jin nodded and cleaned the stains on the table. After putting on the necklace, she was about to get up when her eyes suddenly rolled back and she fainted. Just as Yi Jin's head was about to hit the metal table, Lin Ran quickly supported her. Yi Jin, what's wrong? Lin Ran called out a few times, but there was no response. His expression immediately became strange. Although he was not on guard just now, he did not sense any danger. Could it be that she had been too tired these past few days and passed out from exhaustion? Just as Lin Ran was feeling puzzled, he suddenly felt a slight fluctuation of internal energy. Then, the two doors closed with a bang, looking like they were blown by the wind. However, these two metal doors were at least dozens of kilograms heavy. What kind of wind could close them? Who is it? Lin Ran immediately realized that someone was wrong. While being vigilant, the yin-yang sword appeared in his hand, and thousands of sword energy surged out, instantly forming a barrier to protect the two of them. At the same time, a cabinet in the corner of the room suddenly opened. A person covered in blood fell out and fell to the ground with a thud. Even behind the sword energy barrier, Lin Ran could still smell the strong smell of blood on that person. He frowned and hesitated for a moment before finally opening the barrier and walking out. Lin Ran sent out a wisp of divine sense to scan the person and realized that his body was mutilated. Not only were there more than 10 deep wounds on his body, but even his meridians and internal organs were severely damaged. At the same time, the internal energy that had gone out of control was still rampaging through his body, undoubtedly making things worse for his already mutilated body. However, the vast internal energy in that person's body shocked Lin Ran. It was probably because of this that he was still alive. Unfortunately, the other party had completely lost control of his internal energy. Even Lin Ran found it difficult to accurately determine his cultivation level. He only knew that the other party was at least a senior grandmaster through the amount of internal energy he had. Who are you? Why are you injured like this? Lin Ran held the yin-yang sword and asked, but after waiting for a while, there was no response. It was as if that person was completely unconscious. After thinking for a moment, Lin Ran decided to take a look at the situation first. Then, he flipped the man over and found that his face was also covered in a thick layer of blood. However, from his beard, he seemed to be a middle-aged man. Thinking that he didn't know anyone like this, Lin Ran felt troubled. Logically speaking, the life of this person had nothing to do with him. He just had to inform Sun Ji and leave with Yi Jin. However, for some reason, Lin Ran felt that it was this guy who caused Yi Jin to faint. In addition, this person didn't forget to close the door. It was obvious that he had something to say to him, but he couldn't last long enough to tell him. After transferring an internal energy to stabilize the other party's injuries, Lin Ran sat on the ground and pondered. It was definitely unrealistic to wait for this person to wake up, but if he brought two unconscious people, one of whom was covered in blood, to wander around outside, he would probably be stopped before he reached the entrance. Even if he could leave the magistrate's office, there were still many pedestrians outside. After thinking about it, Lin Ran had no choice but to break the back window. Then, he picked up the unconscious Yi Jin with one hand and carried the injured person with another. Then, he stepped on the yin-yang sword and rode out of the shattered window. Such a huge commotion naturally attracted the attention of everyone in the magistrate's office. When the guards nearby rushed into the room and saw the blood on the ground, they were instantly vigilant. After flying for a while on his sword, Lin Ran brought the two of them outside the Iron City and landed in a small forest more than 10 miles north of the city. After throwing the injured person to the ground, Lin Ran patted Yi Jin's face. "Yi Jin, can you hear me? Wake up." After Lin Ran shouted 2 or 3 times in a row, Yi Jin finally woke up. When she opened her eyes and saw the surroundings, she couldn't help but be stunned. "Why am I here? Aren't we in the magistrate's office?" It's a long story. Seeing that Yi Jin was fine, he relaxed and pointed at the injured person beside him. "Do you know this person?" Yi Jin looked in the direction Lin Ran was pointing and realized that there was another person lying in the grass. She frowned and said uncomfortably, "His face is covered in blood. Who can recognize him?" "That's true." Lin Ran nodded. He took a handful of dew from the grass and began to scrub the person's face. Soon, a delicate face was revealed from the blood. Only then did Lin Ran realize that this person was very young. It was just that he hadn't shaved for a long time and his face was covered in blood, making him look very old, but in fact, he was only in his early 20s. "That's strange." Lin Ran looked at that delicate face and couldn't help but frown. "Why do I feel that this person looks a little familiar?" 338 Request for help from the enemy. Speaking of which, although Lin Ran ran around all day, he didn't know many people. It was mainly because he was too powerful and didn't need to ask for help, so he naturally couldn't be bothered to waste his time socializing. Therefore, at this moment, Lin Ran couldn't help but find it strange to see a familiar person he didn't know. Even if he didn't want to admit it, he was indeed a little face blind. For him to find someone familiar, it must be someone he had interacted with a lot before. After thinking about it carefully for a moment, Lin Ran still couldn't remember where he had seen this person before. He turned to look at Yi Jin and asked, "I wiped his face clean. Do you know him?" "I've never seen him." Yi Jin shook her head after taking a glance. Lin Ran's expression immediately became even stranger. Apart from the residents of the Iron City, Lin Ran hadn't seen anyone else recently, but even if this person wasn't from the Iron City, he should have heard of such a young senior grandmaster. Wait. A young senior grandmaster? Lin Ran's eyes lit up, and a thought suddenly flashed across his mind. Lu Ruki, Nanjiang Town. If there were any young grandmasters in the world that Lin Ran didn't know, it would probably be the cocoons in Nanjiang Town. However, ever since Lin Ran caused a mess in Nanjiang Town last time, the entire town was in ruins. Lu Ruki and the cocoons were nowhere to be found. Now that only half a month had passed, it was almost impossible to rebuild Nanjiang Town, so Lin Ran did not pay much attention to what Lu Ruki was up to lately. However, when he saw this seriously injured young man on the verge of death today, he suddenly had an ominous feeling. While thinking, Lin Ran sent his divine sense into the young man's body. Unlike the previous careless examination, this time, he seriously checked the young man's injuries. "Yi Jin," Lin Ran shouted without looking back, "fetch some dry branches and burn them to ashes." "Oh, okay." Yi Jin didn't know what Lin Ran wanted to do, but she still agreed and ran away. At the same time, Lin Ran placed his right hand on the young man's chest and took a deep breath to focus. Then, he released a few strands of internal energy from his palm and began to help this young man stabilize the internal energy that had gone out of control. The young man's meridians were severely damaged, and a huge amount of internal energy rampaged through his body like a ferocious beast. Lin Ran could only use his internal energy to force the uncontrollable internal energy back to its original place. This method sounded simple, but it was not. If he used too much internal energy, it would cause the other party second harm. However, if he used too little and it was ineffective, even Lin Ran might suffer a backlash. The entire process was like standing on the edge of a cliff with countless ferocious beasts bearing their fangs down below. Even so, Lin Ran didn't hesitate at all. It wasn't that he cared about the life and death of this young man, but that ominous feeling made him very concerned. If he didn't figure it out, he might not be in the mood to do anything. After a long time, the young man's violent internal energy finally stabilized. Lin Ran's clothes were already drenched in sweat. Large beads of sweat dripped down his pale face and landed on the ground, forming a shallow puddle. "Lin Ran, are you all right?" Yi Jin's voice sounded behind him. Lin Ran turned around and forced a smile. He instructed in a hoarse voice, "Wash his wound with dew and apply wood ash to stop the bleeding. I'm a little tired. I need to rest for a while." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Ran fell to the ground. In a daze, he saw Yi Jin running towards him with a cry. Then, his vision darkened and he lost consciousness. After an unknown period of time, Lin Ran gradually woke up from the faint. His clothes, which were soaked in sweat, were still a little damp. It felt indescribably uncomfortable to wear it, but this also proved that Lin Ran had not been unconscious for long. Lin Ran really didn't expect to be so tired. This tiredness was not only physical, but also spiritual. It was as if he had been running for 3 days and 3 nights without sleep. Every part of his body was in pain. "You're awake," Yi Jin's voice came from the side. Lin Ran raised his hand in response. The dazzling sunlight shone down, making Lin Ran subconsciously close his eyes. Then, Lin Ran felt himself being helped to sit up. Yi Jin said in his ear, "Drink some water first." Lin Ran nodded and opened his eyes. He saw a rolled-up leaf brought to his mouth. There was some crystal-clear dew on it, but it wasn't much. "This is the dew I collected." Yi Jin held Lin Ran and whispered with an embarrassed expression, "There was originally a lot of it, but I spilled some on the way. It's fine. I'm not too thirsty." Lin Ran smiled and raised his head to drink the dew. The refreshing dew mixed with the faint fragrance of grass made him feel much better. Lin Ran smacked his lips and looked at the young man who was still lying in the grass. "How is he?" "He woke up once just now, but he fainted again after a while." Yi Jin sighed and replied helplessly. Then, she suddenly thought of something and slapped her forehead. "By the way, he asked me to tell you something." "What is it?" "Town Guardian Lu is in danger. Hurry up and save her." Lin Ran frowned slightly when he heard this. If this young man was really one of those cocoons, the town guardian Lu should be referring to Lu Ruqi. However, the last time he met Lu Ruqi, if not for Xuan Wushang, or rather, Chen Tianqi, who arrived in time, Lu Ruqi would definitely have died under his sword. If this person was from Nanjiang town, it was impossible for him not to know about this. Then why would he come to ask him for help? Wasn't this young man afraid that Lu Ruqi would be killed by him? After thinking for a while to avail, Lin Ran couldn't be bothered to waste any more energy. He gritted his teeth and stood up to walk to the unconscious young man. He patted him and shouted softly, "Hey, wake up. I'm Lin Ran. I have something to ask you." The young man did not respond. Lin Ran pursed his lips and thought for a moment. Suddenly, he raised his hand and slapped the young man twice. After 2 slaps, as 2 handprints slowly appeared on the young man's face, his tightly shut eyes finally opened. 339 short of money. The young man, who had just woken up, was still a little confused. He rolled his eyes stiffly and asked in confusion, "Where am I?" "The Great Yong Dynasty." Lin Ran replied casually and reached out to turn the other party's face to him. "Look carefully. Do you know me?" "You are." The young man was stunned for a few seconds before his confused eyes gradually focused. Then, Lin Ran felt the young man grit his teeth as if he wanted to sit up, but he was too seriously injured. He tried a few times but failed. "If you have something to say, say it. Don't waste time." Lin Ran pressed him down harder and frowned impatiently. "Tell me, do you know me or not?" "You're Lin Ran." The young man replied weakly but excitedly, "We've seen each other in Nanjiang town." "It's indeed Nanjiang town." Lin Ran thought to himself and continued to ask, "You just sent a message saying that town guardian Lu is in trouble. Are you talking about Lu Ruqi?" The young man nodded slightly. Lin Ran asked again, "Don't you know that I almost killed her last time? Now, you're asking me for help. Did someone hit your brain?" "No, once town guardian Lu dies, we'll all be finished. Only you can save her now." The young man shook his head. Lin Ran made an "I'm all ears" expression and waited for him to continue, but the young man kept quiet. After waiting for a while and seeing that the young man didn't speak, Lin Ran was about to ask again when Yi Jin suddenly said weakly, "Well, he seems to have fainted again." "What?" Lin Ran was stunned. When he took a closer look, he realized that it was indeed the case. Although the young man was still looking at him with his eyes open, his eyes were starting to lose focus. It was obvious that he was no longer conscious. Seeing this, Lin Ran immediately felt a little angry. However, since the young man was injured so badly, he couldn't force him. The most important thing now was to heal the young man as soon as possible. Even though Lin Ran had tried his best to stabilize his out-of-control internal energy, the damage to his meridians was very bad. It was impossible to heal him with just the wood ash. After Lin Ran slapped the young man 2 times, the young man still didn't react. Lin Ran sighed and said helplessly, "Forget it. Let him rest here first. Let's go back to the city to get some medicine." When Yi Jin heard this, he hesitated. "But won't he run around when he wakes up while we're gone?" "That seems to be the case." Lin Ran nodded thoughtfully and looked at Yi Jin inquiringly. Why don't you keep an eye on him here? Yi Jin raised her eyebrows. Do you know where to buy medicine? Lin Ran was speechless. Then I'll keep an eye on him here. Yi Jin stood up to pat Lin Ran's shoulder. Don't worry, I have an idea. After saying that, Yi Jin turned around and walked to the side. She cut a piece of bark from a big tree and carved a few lines on it with a small knife. The general meaning was that they had to go back to the city to find medicine and ask the young man to stay here. Putting the tree bark into the young man's hand, Yi Jin looked at Lin Ran smugly. How is it? This idea is not bad, right? Not bad. Lin Ran gave her a thumbs up and praised. He suddenly felt a little sentimental. Previously, he had always felt that Yi Jin was someone who needed to be taken care of, but he didn't expect her to always give him unexpected surprises. After leaving the message, Lin Ran brought Yi Jin back to the city on his sword. Under Yi Jin's lead, the two of them quickly found a medical hall. After Lin Ran roughly described the young man's injuries, the shopkeeper quickly prepared the corresponding herbs. I've packed it up for you. The shopkeeper placed the packed herbs on the table and revealed a kind smile. A total of 3 tiles of silver. Lin Ran nodded and put his hand in his pocket. Then, his expression became awkward. Did you bring the money? Lin Ran looked at Yi Jin awkwardly. I gave all the money to your father. When Yi Jin heard this, she also looked embarrassed. I also gave my money to my father. Lin Ran pursed his lips with a strange expression and forced a smile at the shopkeeper. We didn't bring any money. Can we put it on credit first? Hearing that the two of them didn't have money, the smile on the shopkeeper's face instantly disappeared. He glanced at Lin Ran from head to toe and said disdainfully, you don't dress like a poor person. Why can't you take out 3 tiles of silver? It's not that I can't afford it, but I forgot to bring money with me when I went out. Lin Ran explained with a smile, can I take the medicine away first? I'll definitely send you the money in an hour at most. Don't give me that. Why would you buy medicine if you don't have money? The shopkeeper glared at him. Then, as if he had seen something, he waved his hand hard at the door. Official, someone is causing trouble here. No, we really forgot to bring money. Lin Ran's expression changed and he hurriedly explained. As he spoke, he subconsciously turned around and burst out laughing. It turned out that official outside was none other than Sun Ji, whom he had just seen this morning. You came at the right time, Lin Ran shouted. Ignoring the strange gaze of the shopkeeper, he rushed out and grabbed Sun Ji's hand. Give me 3 tiles of silver. I'll return it to you later. At this moment, Sun Ji finally recognized Lin Ran. He looked up at the signboard of the medical hall and his expression changed slightly. Why are you buying medicine? Are you injured? Lin Ran waved his hand. Don't ask so much. Did you bring money or not? Sun Ji took off the pouch at his waist. I did, but before he could finish speaking, the pouch in Sun Ji's hand was snatched away by Lin Ran. He rushed back to the medical hall, threw the pouch on the counter, and took away the medicine. Ignoring the shopkeeper's shocked face, Lin Ran took the medicine and called Yi Jin out. After thanking Sun Ji, he turned around and left. Wait a minute, Sun Ji shouted and quickly chased after him. He grabbed Lin Ran and said seriously, I have something to tell you. Lin Ran was stunned for a moment before realization dawned on him. It's the list, right? You sorted it out so quickly? No, it's something else. Sun Ji shook his head and looked at Yi Jin with worry. Are you alright? Yi Jin was still a little angry with Sun Ji. When she heard this, she rolled her eyes and said angrily, I'm fine. What can happen to me? It's good that you're fine. Sun Ji heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Lin Ran. Can I talk to you? Lin Ran frowned slightly. About what? I feel that something is wrong with Chen Tianqi. 340 The big picture is more important. Hearing that something was wrong with Chen Tianqi, Lin Ran's expression changed because he felt the same way. Before Xuan Wushang escaped from the dungeon of the Iron City, the Xuan Wushang Lin Ran saw was disguised by Chen Tianqi. Apart from that malicious expression, Chen Tianqi rarely showed much expression. For example, every time he spoke, his lips did not move much, but his voice could be heard clearly. However, Chen Tianqi, who he saw in the magistrate's office this morning, did not have these habits. Lin Ran felt that something was wrong at that time, but seeing that Sun Ji did not notice it, he thought that he was overthinking. Now that Sun Ji brought it up, Lin Ran recalled the scene when the 3 of them discussed this morning. The doubts he had previously ignored became stronger. However, even so, Lin Ran didn't show it on his face. He only frowned and asked in confusion, is that so? What's wrong with him? Sun Ji glanced at Yi Jin and pulled Lin Ran a few steps to the side. Then, he said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, I can't explain it clearly, I just feel that he's different from before. Lin Ran frowned to show that he didn't understand. Different in what way? I can't put my finger on it, I just have a feeling. Sun Ji shook his head. Let me be clear, this is just my speculation. I don't think that person is Chen Tianqi. Is not Chen Tianqi? Lin Ran raised his eyebrows. If Sun Ji was right, apart from the substitute who was killed by him last night, the only other person who could be Chen Tianqi was the real Chuan Wushang. At the thought of this, Lin Ran subconsciously gasped. Wasn't this too melodramatic? Sun Ji frowned. Did you think of something? I'm not sure. Lin Ran shook his head hesitantly, but it was not that he was not sure about his guess, but he was not sure if he should say it out loud. Whether that person was Chen Tianqi or Xuan Wushang, they were not allies Lin Ran could trust. Moreover, when the three of them were discussing the cooperation this morning, Lin Ran made a request to kill Lu Hongshan. Therefore, as long as they maintained the current situation, at least he could successfully kill Lu Hongshan. As for the remaining two, they were nothing to be afraid of. On the contrary, if Lin Ran exposed Chen Tianqi and that he really turned out to be the real Xuan Wushang, they would definitely fall out. This would not do Lin Ran's plan any good. At the same time, Lin Ran made up his mind. Then, he looked at Sun Ji and asked suspiciously, I don't think there's anything wrong with him. Have you been under too much pressure recently so that you become paranoid? Hearing Lin Ran's words, Sun Ji also looked uncertain. However, he and Chen Tianqi had grown up together since they were young. Even though they had been apart in recent years, they were still brothers. Therefore, he was very sure that something was wrong with Chen Tianqi whom he saw this morning. Seeing that Sun Ji's expression was determined, Lin Ran took the initiative to say, if you're really worried, why don't you try him? Sun Ji was puzzled. How? Talk to him about something only the two of you know. Lin Ran replied casually. He knew that Xuan Wushang could eavesdrop on what Chen Tianqi was experiencing through that piece of fluttering cloud. Therefore, even if Chen Tianqi was fake, as long as he had a brain, he could fool Sun Ji. Sun Ji nodded in realization. It's indeed a good idea. I'll ask him about the girl we liked when we were young. No. Before Sun Ji could finish, Lin Ran quickly waved his hand. Change the question. It's best if it is something that happened in the past few years. Sun Ji frowned. Why is that? Lin Ran thought to himself, how could Xuan Wushang know who the girl they liked when they were young was? If Sun Ji asked this, Xuan Wushang would definitely expose himself on the spot. However, he could not really say this out loud. After thinking for a moment, Lin Ran said seriously, although your question is not a bad one, the situation is tense now. How strange is it for you to suddenly mention what happened when you were young? It does seem a little strange. Sun Ji nodded in agreement, but there was still hesitation in his eyes. But this question is the best one. If that person is really Chen Tianqi, he can answer it. If not, he will definitely be exposed. Of course. How can I not understand such simple logic? Lin Ran cursed in his heart, but he still put on a sincere expression. He's been traveling outside for so many years, so it's inevitable that his temperament has changed. How do you know that he still treats you as a brother? Sun Ji looked hesitant when he heard this. Lin Ran continued, think about it carefully. The situation is so delicate now. If he becomes hostile after being suspected by you, what will happen to your plan? You're right. Sun Ji's expression turned serious as he said in a low voice, speaking of which, this is just my guess. Such baseless accusations will do neither of us any good. With that, Sun Ji suddenly bowed to Lin Ran. Thank you for reminding me. Hearing this, Lin Ran suddenly felt guilty. Although he had deceived many people, Sun Ji was probably the most gullible one. Looking at Sun Ji's sincere expression, Lin Ran almost couldn't help but apologize. However, in order for all the plans to go smoothly, he pretended to be calm and waved his hand. It's nothing. There's no need to mention it. Although we're on different sides, I still have to thank you, Sun Ji said seriously. Then, he bowed again and pointed behind him. Is she really fine? Lin Ran looked in the direction the other party was pointing and realized that it was Yi Jin, who was eavesdropping not far away. However, the two of them were talking very softly, so she probably didn't hear anything. Huh? What can happen to her? Lin Ran was caught between laughter and tears as he asked, you've already asked me once. Did something happen? Sun Ji nodded and lowered his voice. After you left, someone broke in. We found blood in one of the rooms, the room where she was waiting for you. Lin Ran was speechless because he knew what the blood was about, but he didn't know how to explain it to Sun Ji. 341 and involved. Under Sun Ji's gaze, a few excuses quickly flashed across Lin Ran's mind, such as that he had accidentally cut himself, but he quickly rejected them one by one because this explanation was too deliberate and would easily arouse Sun Ji's suspicion. Half a second later, Lin Ran frowned and looked surprised. Really? But why didn't I notice it at that time? Maybe that person broke in after you left. Sun Ji didn't doubt Lin Ran's words. In short, it's good that Jin is fine. We'll continue to investigate who broke in. Be careful. Lin Ran nodded to show that he understood. Sun Ji continued, also, the location of a few people on that list has yet to be confirmed. We need some time. Hurry up. We don't have much time left. Lin Ran replied with a sigh. He still didn't know what was going on with Lu Ruki, but the appearance of that young man indeed made his time a lot more tighter. Sun Ji didn't know what Lin Ran was thinking. After promising that he would hurry up, he turned around and left. Lin Ran called Yi Jin to walk into a remote alley. After making sure that no one was around, he rode his sword and flew straight out of the city. The reason why he left in such a hurry was partly because he wanted to give the young man medicine to treat his injuries as soon as possible, and partly because he was afraid that Sun Ji would ask him to return the money. As the wind howled, the two of them quickly arrived at the small forest in the north of the city. However, when they landed, they only saw a mark on the grass where someone had been lying, and the severely injured young man was nowhere to be seen. Yi Jin said with a frown, "Didn't we tell him not to run around? Could it be that he can't read the words?" "It's not that he can't read, he's just more cautious." Lin Ran narrowed his eyes and chuckled. Then, he turned to look at a bush not far away. "Come out. We brought you medicine." As soon as he finished speaking, the bushes rustled. The young man stuck out half his head warily and confirmed that there was no one else other than Lin Ran and Yi Jin before standing up completely. "You came back very quickly." The young man grinned. His injuries seemed to have recovered a lot. At least, his face was not as pale as before. He wondered if it was because of Lin Ran's slaps. "Because I was afraid that you'd die if I came back too late." Lin Ran sneered and walked forward. He reached out to help the young man out of the bushes. Then, he took out the medicine he had just bought and poured out a few pills for the young man. "Take the medicine first. We'll talk later." The young man pushed Lin Ran's hand away. "Time is tight. Let me talk first." "Do you think you're the only one who doesn't have time?" Lin Ran interrupted him with a cold expression and stuffed the medicine into the young man's hand. "If I tell you to take it, you take it. Otherwise, you'll die here." The young man was speechless. In the end, he could only obediently stuff the medicine into his mouth. Not long after, the medicine was absorbed. The young man slowly exhaled and smiled at Lin Ran. "Thank you, I feel much better." "That's good." Lin Ran nodded and reached out his right hand, saying seriously, 5 tiles of silver in total." The young man was stunned for a few seconds before he took out a golden leaf from his belt. "I don't have change." "That's it then." Lin Ran snatched the golden leaf and threw it to Yi Jin. He clapped his hands and looked like he was all ears. "Now, tell me, what happened to Lu Ruki?" The young man said, "It's Lu Hongshan. Yesterday, he suddenly visited our camp and chatted with Town Guardian Lu in the room for an hour before leaving. But last night, he suddenly returned. As soon as he appeared, he attacked. Many people were killed by him before they could react." "Wait a minute." Lin Ran raised his hand and interrupted him. He frowned and asked suspiciously, "Did you just say that Lu Hongshan went to your camp?" "Right." The young man nodded firmly. "I don't know that person, but I heard Town Guardian Lu call him by the Dragon Elephant Divine Master." "You're lying to me." Lin Ran's expression instantly darkened. "As far as I know, Lu Hongshan was still in the capital of the Heavenly Saint Dynasty yesterday morning. Why would he visit your camp? Do you need me to tell you how far the capital of Heavenly Saint Dynasty is from Nanjiang Town?" "I'm not lying to you. Town Guardian Lu really called that person Lu Hongshan." The young man hurriedly explained, but his eyes suddenly averted. He said in a voice not much louder than a mosquito, "But Nanjiang Town has been destroyed by you. Our new camp is in the Heavenly Saint." "What did you say?" Lin Ran frowned and was instantly furious. Although what Lu Ruki did went against the rules of the Heavenly Tao, Lin Ran tolerated it because she was carrying out the experiment in Nanjiang Town and that the people who were harmed were from the Great Yong Dynasty. But now that they had moved their camp to the Heavenly Saint Dynasty, wouldn't the commoners of the Heavenly Saint Dynasty be the ones to suffer? Sensing the violent aura coming from Lin Ran, the young man, who had yet to recover from his serious injuries, immediately turned pale. He hurriedly waved his hand and explained, "Don't be angry. It's my fault for not making it clear. Actually, strictly speaking, that place is already considered part of the Great Yong dynasty. It's considered part of the Great Yong dynasty? Lin Ran raised his eyebrows. Then, an idea flashed across his mind. Is it one of the 15 cities that the Heavenly Saint dynasty seeded? The young man nodded. Lin Ran's expression immediately changed. Previously, Chen Tianqi pretended to be Xuan Wushang and asked Emperor Xing Yuan to retreat 300 miles at the border and give up 15 cities. However, there were no requirements for location, scale, and so on for the 15 cities. As long as they were in the Heavenly Saint realm, it did not matter even if they were an ancient city that had long been abandoned. In the end, Emperor Xing Yuan chose 15 empty cities from the various borders, but she did not expect Chen Tianqi to really accept them. After what the young man said, Lin Ran seemed to understand what Chen Tianqi wanted the 15 empty cities for. 342 The real motive. At first, Lin Ran and Emperor Xing Yuan guessed that Xuan Wushang was looking for something in one of the cities, but he didn't want to make his motive too obvious, so he asked for 15 cities to cover up his true motive. However, Chen Tianqi did not specify which city he wanted, which made Lin Ran and Emperor Xing Yuan confused. Even so, Emperor Xing Yuan did not cede the northern border cities closest to the Great Yong dynasty. Instead, she chose 5 almost abandoned garrison cities at the eastern, southern, and western borders. Not only were the garrison cities close to the border, but it was also uninhabited. On the surface, apart from the Heavenly Saint dynasty retreating 300 miles away from the northern border, the Great Yong dynasty did not seem to have obtained any advantage. However, now that he heard that Lu Ruqi was continuing the experiment in one of the garrison cities, Lin Ran suddenly realized that scattered cities were exactly what Chen Tianqi wanted. From the layout of Nanjiang town, it could be seen that Lu Ruqi's research actually did not need a big space. The more remote and uninhabited a place was, the more suitable it was for her to carry out experiments without restraint. Where else in the world could be more remote and uninhabited than an abandoned military city at the border? Moreover, as long as there was one city, it was enough to accommodate Lu Ruqi and her hundreds of cocoons, and the other 14 cities would be their best cover. Countless thoughts flashed through Lin Ran's mind like meteors. His expression slowly turned solemn. Chen Tianqi, you're really scheming. Lin Ran gritted his teeth and muttered softly. Then, he suddenly looked up at the young man opposite him. Where is your camp? Fortin and you. The young man replied in a low voice. Lin Ran's expression instantly darkened. Fortin and EU was at the southern border of the Heavenly Saint dynasty. Once Lu Ruqi finished her experiments and created countless cocoons, the Heavenly Saint dynasty would definitely be attacked from both sides. However, thinking about this, Lin Ran suddenly thought of something else. It was a good thing for the Heavenly Saint dynasty and Lin Ran that Lu Hongshan was attacking Lu Ruqi. Putting aside the grudge between the two of them, Lin Ran really wanted to thank Lu Hongshan for this. Lu Ruqi was not a fool. It was impossible for her not to understand such a simple logic, but she still sent someone to ask Lin Ran for help. Where did she get her confidence from? The anger in his heart was replaced by curiosity. Lin Ran asked, "What did Lu Ruqi say to you when she asked you to come here?" The young man was stunned for a moment before he suddenly revealed a hesitant expression. "I can't tell you." "You can't tell me?" Lin Ran burst out laughing. His first reaction was that this young man might not know either. However, on second thought, Lin Ran felt that this person must know something. If he wasn't confident, why would he come all the way here to ask the enemy for help? Thinking of this, Lin Ran narrowed his eyes and sized up the other party. He was caught between laughter and tears as he asked, "Did someone really hit your brain? You're the one who came to beg me to save someone, but you don't want to tell me why." The young man gritted his teeth and nodded stubbornly. Lin Ran was speechless for a while. He smacked his lips and said helplessly, "Let me analyze it for you. Lu Ruqi is a traitor of the Heavenly Saint dynasty. If you follow her, you're the enemy of the Heavenly Saint dynasty. Now that Lu Hongshan attacked her, although what he did was a little inappropriate, it might not be a bad thing for the Heavenly Saint dynasty." At this point, Lin Ran paused for a moment and spread out his hands as if he was weighing the pros and cons. "Tell me, on one side is the helper of the Heavenly Saint dynasty, and on the other side is the enemy of the Heavenly Saint dynasty. Which side should I help?" "Our side," the young man replied firmly without hesitation. His matter-of-fact tone made Lin Ran want to slap him. However, seeing that the finger marks on the young man's face had yet to fade, Lin Ran resisted the urge to hit him. He stretched out a finger and said seriously, "I'll give you one last chance. Tell me what Lu Ruqi said. Otherwise, go back to where you came from." "I can't tell you." The young man shook his head again. Even though Lin Ran had already given him an ultimatum, he still had no intention of giving in. Seeing this, Lin Ran couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on him. He pulled Yi Jin and turned to leave. Lin Ran left too suddenly. Not only did the young man not react, but even Yi Jin did not know what had happened. After walking a dozen steps, Yi Jin finally reacted and asked softly, "Are you really not going to ask any more? If you leave just like that, won't everything you've done before be in vain? You don't understand. It's called strategy." Lin Ran replied in a low voice and squeezed Yi Jin's hand. "Look back. Is he going to call me back?" When Yi Jin heard this, she turned around and saw that the young man was still sitting on the ground in a daze, as if he had yet to react to what had happened. "It doesn't look like it." Yi Jin asked softly with a strange expression, "Do you want me to put up a show with me? That works too." As soon as Lin Ran agreed, Yi Jin suddenly raised her voice and said, "Lin Ran, don't go yet. He's so seriously injured and his mind is most likely affected. You have to be patient." Sigh. "All right, that makes sense," Lin Ran replied loudly. As he spoke, he turned around and was about to go back when he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Achoo! At the side, Yi Jin suddenly sneezed. She rubbed her arms and said in confusion, "Achoo! Why is it suddenly so cold?" Lin Ran was stunned when he heard this. It was noon and the sun was at its zenith. Why did the temperature suddenly drop? Just as Lin Ran was feeling puzzled, a cold wind suddenly blew past. Then, snowflakes fell from the sky. 343 A beauty is here with evil intentions. Looking at the snowflakes falling from the burning sun, even Lin Ran, who prided himself on being knowledgeable, was clueless. What surprised Lin Ran the most was how heavy the snow was. In just 2 to 3 seconds, the originally lush forest turned into a vast expanse of white. Lin Ran's head and shoulders were also covered in snow. If he moved slightly, it would fall down. Unintentionally, a few snowflakes landed at the corner of his mouth, and then a faint bitter taste spread in his mouth. His entire body began to feel numb. "Oh no, this snow is poisonous." Lin Ran instantly realized that something was wrong. A majestic aura surged out of his body and sent the snow on his body flying. At the same time, Lin Ran summoned the yin-yang sword. However, just as he was about to slash out sword energy to form a barrier, his aura suddenly stagnated, and the yin-yang sword in his hand fell to the ground with a clang. "Lord Lin, don't waste your effort. I've been planning for this snowstorm for months." The poison had already seeped into your body. Accompanied by a pleasant voice, a figure in a black cloak slowly walked out of the depths of the forest. The snow that filled the sky gave way to the figure as if it was afraid of the figure. As a result, there was no snow on the black cloak, making it look dazzling in this white world. "Who are you?" Lin Ran asked coldly with a dark expression. At the same time, he secretly activated his internal energy, but he realized that he seemed to be exhausted. Not only was it difficult for him to move his fingers, but the internal energy he could mobilize was less than 1% of his peak. Realizing this situation, Lin Ran's expression became even more solemn. It was obvious that the figure did not come with good intentions. At the same time, the person in the black cloak had already walked forward and stopped less than 3 steps in front of Lin Ran. A fragrance wafted into Lin Ran's nose, but Lin Ran's eyes were burning with anger. The person stopped at such a close distance, which showed that not only was the person confident in his poison, but he was also not afraid of Lin Ran. "Who exactly are you?" Lin Ran gritted his teeth and asked again. The numbness in his body intensified. He wanted to see what was going on with Yi Jin, but he couldn't even turn his head. "My name is Chu Gai. I've long heard of Lord Lin's reputation. Seeing you today, you're indeed impressive." The black-robed person smiled coquettishly. A pair of fair and slender hands reached out from under her cloak, grabbed the wide hood, and pulled it back. As silver hair that was as smooth as the moonlight poured down, a beautiful face that was mostly covered by a black veil was revealed. Seeing her beautiful eyes that were as clear as lake water, even though Lin Ran knew that the person in front of him was an enemy, he couldn't help but be stunned. Chu Gai covered her mouth and chuckled when she saw this, but her clear eyes were filled with disappointment. "I thought that Lord Lin was an exceptional hero, but I didn't expect you to be no different from those vulgar men who get infatuated upon seeing beauty." Lin Ran frowned. "Beauty? Do you have any sense of shame?" "What?" Chu Gai was stunned, and her beautiful eyes revealed a hint of sadness and weakness. "Am I not beautiful? How would I know?" Lin Ran rolled his eyes and pursed his lips. "Who made this mask? The craftsmanship is too lousy. Your forehead is reflecting light." Hearing Lin Ran's words, Chu Gai subconsciously raised her hand to touch her forehead, but just as she was about to raise her hand, she suddenly stopped. Lord Lin, you must be joking. This is my face. Why would I need a mask? Lin Ran sneered and raised his eyebrows provocatively. Move your eyebrows if you dare. Well, Xu Gai narrowed her eyes. After a moment, she finally gave in. May I ask how Lord Lin saw through it? Your expression hasn't changed since you appeared. Lin Ran pursed his lips and smiled smugly, as if he had completely forgotten that he couldn't move. I know a person who's especially good at making masks. If you need a good one, I'll introduce my friend to you. Xu Gai was stunned for a moment. Before she could speak, Lin Ran changed the topic and said coldly, you poisoned me before you even showed up. If you can't explain yourself, I'll make sure you can't leave this forest today. Although it was difficult for Lin Ran to even move a finger now, the aura of a half-saint was not affected. A trace of fear flashed across Xu Gai's eyes, but she quickly smiled. Lord Lin, you're really humorous. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid you can't even protect yourself now, right? Lin Ran's heart beat fast, but he still looked calm. You can try. Xu Gai smiled without saying anything. She retracted her fair and slender hand into her cloak. When she reached out again, a snow-white saber had already appeared in her hand. With a light wave, it caused a whooshing sound. Lin Ran's pupils constricted and he subconsciously looked down at the yin-yang sword on the ground. At this moment, most of the sword was covered in snow, leaving only a small black blade exposed. Don't think about it. You have no chance of winning, Xu Gai said with a coquettish smile. She held the saber in her hand and waved it slowly in front of her eyes, as if she was admiring an exquisite hairpin. Although there's no need, I still want you to die knowing why. Last night, I made an agreement with the Emperor of the Great Yong dynasty. As long as I take your life before dusk today, the Emperor will agree to a request of mine. So, at this point, Xu Gai flicked her wrist and the blade of the saber landed on Lin Ran's shoulder. Her voice was still as pleasant as ever. I have no choice but to do this, so I'd like to borrow your head. Please fulfill my wish. In your dreams. Lin Ran shouted angrily and suddenly used all his strength to fall back. However, even though he reacted quickly enough, his neck was still cut by the saber. Scarlet blood dripped on the white snow, and Lin Ran's figure landed heavily on the ground. The snow covering the yin-yang sword was shoveled away, and the black and white hilt was less than an inch away from his fingertips. Oh no! Xu Gai cried out in surprise. The saber in her hand turned into a stream of light and stabbed into Lin Ran's hand. Unexpectedly, Lin Ran didn't reach out to take the sword at all. Instead, he smiled evilly at her. Almost at the same time, Xu Gai saw a white light flash in front of her eyes, and a broken sword with an exquisite hilt inlaid with dragon patterns appeared in Lin Ran's hand. 5-element sword technique, fire. As soon as he finished speaking, a few faint sword energy swept out with a scorching heat wave. 344 Xu Gai's true identity. Xu Gai's figure instantly moved 100 steps away. However, even though her reaction was already fast, the corner of her cloak was still burned by the fire. The thick black cloak ignited with raging flames. Seeing that she couldn't put it out, Xu Gai tore it off and threw it on the ground. As expected, I underestimated you. Xu Gai looked at the light burns on her body and muttered to herself. However, her melodious voice was already filled with a terrifying killing intent. At the same time, the surging flames stopped amidst the falling snow. Although there were only a few sword energies, the terrifying heat swept away the snow in a radius of dozens of steps. Under the snow, Lin Ran stood in the grass with Dragon Roar in his hand. Wisps of white smoke rose from his body. It seems that you don't know me very well either. Lin Ran tilted his head to the left and right, his stiff neck making cracking sounds. Don't you know that I have plenty of swords? 100 steps away, Xu Gai was wearing an ice blue gauze coat. She stood expressionlessly in the heavy snow, her figure looking curvaceous. Lord Lin, you really hide your strength well, Xu Gai said coldly with gritted teeth. But so what? The poison in your body has yet to be removed. How long can you last in this snow? Definitely longer than you. The corners of Lin Ran's mouth curled up, and a white light flashed in his hand. The 10 miles Dragon Roar changed to the black and white yin-yang sword. 5-element sword technique. Hearing the words 5-element sword technique, Xu Gai instantly became nervous. The terrifying scene just now flashed across her mind, and she subconsciously took a half step back and assumed a defensive posture. However, to Xu Gai's surprise, Lin Ran did not attack this time. Instead, he held the hilt of the yin-yang sword with both hands and slammed it to the ground. Wood, clang. As the sword stabbed into the ground, a sharp clang suddenly sounded in the air. With Lin Ran as the center, the flowers and plants within 30 steps shook and emitted a green light. The green sword intent that was filled with endless life quickly gathered and flowed through the gaps between the flowers and plants like a stream. Countless patterns flickering with green light were faintly discernible on the grass, as if they were the pulse of the earth or some obscure ray formation. Almost at the same time, Chugai felt that the poison of the snow had clearly weakened a lot. An ominous feeling quietly crept into her heart. You really like to act mysterious. Lin Ran let go of the yin-yang sword and stood up. He raised his right hand above his head and grabbed the air. Another black heavy sword that was as tall as a person and as wide as 2 palms appeared in his hand. Holding the rough but very heavy hilt of the heavy sword, the smile on Lin Ran's face widened. He looked up at the snow and muttered to himself, "You say that this snow is powerful, but in my opinion, it's nothing. At least, it can't completely restrict my movements. At first, I thought that it had something to do with my cultivation, so I kept circulating my internal energy to protect my heart, but I quickly realized that that wasn't the case." At this point, Lin Ran paused for a moment and looked down at Chugai, who was 100 steps away. "The only use of this thing is to numb the body. The reason why I feel that it's difficult to circulate my internal energy is because I was weak after saving someone." Chugai was silent, but even from 100 steps away, Lin Ran could see her dark eyes begin to flicker. "So I did a small experiment." Lin Ran looked down at the grass that had been cleared of snow, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. "Although there are only a few sword energies, the power hasn't decreased at all. This means that my cultivation isn't affected. It's just that I've overused it." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Ran closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The air after the snow was filled with a hint of sweetness. It surged into his lungs with sword intent that contained endless life, and his aura rose steadily. Boom! An invisible explosion sounded. In an instant, a violent wind blew through the originally quiet forest. Countless snow was swept into the sky like duckweed. In the blink of an eye, the 1,000 miles of ice that was filled with killing intent became filled with vitality. Without giving Chugai any chance to react, Lin Ran raised the heavy sword that weighed more than 100 kilograms with one hand and pointed it at the sky. Another huge sword phantom soared into the sky. With just one strike, the thick cloud that had gathered was cut into 2 from the middle. Then, it was mercilessly torn into pieces by the strong wind in the sky. As the scorching sunlight shone down, the snow stopped falling. Chugai watched everything with her eyes filled with fear, as if she had seen a ghost in broad daylight. 1 strike to detoxify the poison, 2 strikes to break the sky. Is this the strength of a half-saint? Chugai said softly with a terrified expression, but her voice was so soft that only she could hear it. After a moment, her flickering eyes became firm again, as if she had made an important decision in her mind. Meanwhile, on the other side, after Lin Ran swung his sword and broke the cloud in the sky, his body had basically recovered to 70%. Although he was still far from his peak state, it was more than enough to deal with Chugai. He sent out his divine sense to scan Yi Jin and the young man. After confirming that the 2 of them were only unconscious, Lin Ran heaved a sigh of relief. Then, a white light flashed and the black heavy sword in his hand disappeared. Lin Ran reached out and pulled the yin-yang sword up from the ground. He looked up at Chugai 100 steps away. "Let's end this farce here. Do you have any last words?" "Yes, I do." Chugai nodded and reached into her silver hair. An exquisite mask that was as thin as a cicada's wing fell to the ground, revealing her true appearance. "I have a presumptuous request." Lin Ran was about to kill her, but the moment he saw her true appearance, he was stunned as if his heart was being grabbed by a big hand. Apart from looking more mature and having a few wrinkles at the corners of her eyes, this face was almost identical to Yi Jin's. "You are." Lin Ran spoke in a daze, his voice hoarse and his eyes filled with disbelief. "Yi Jin's mother?" Sigh. Chugai let out a sigh and didn't respond to Lin Ran, but her face said it all. 345 There are 1,000 paths in the world. Looking at Chugai's familiar face for a few minutes, Lin Ran was still in a daze. This was because after he met Yi Jin, he had heard Yi Jin talking about her mother's death more than once. Therefore, no matter what, there was no doubt that Yi Jin's mother had passed away. However, now that this dead person was standing in front of him, how could Lin Ran not be puzzled? After a few minutes, Lin Ran came back to his senses and asked suspiciously, "But aren't you dead? Maybe I'm just lucky." Chugai smiled sadly. Then, she opened her collar and slowly raised her head, revealing the ferocious scar across her fair neck. After showing it, Chugai lowered her head and subconsciously pulled up her collar. "Back then, when Sun Ji came to kill me, I thought that I was dead for sure. I didn't expect to be saved by someone later on. Since then, I've been living incognito." Gai slowly explained in a calm tone, as if she was talking about someone else. However, after thinking about it carefully, I realized that perhaps because of my husband, Sun Ji intentionally let me off. Lin Ran raised his eyebrows. You mean Sun Ji deliberately let you live? I don't know. I just don't want to believe that he'll kill me. Gai smiled, her clear eyes revealing a hint of motherly love. After all, he was only 6 years old when my husband took him in as a disciple. It can even be said that I raised him up. I see. Lin Ran looked at Gai and asked, you said that you have a presumptuous request to make. What is it? It's the same thing as I said before. Gai replied in a low voice, but her attitude was not as aggressive as before. I want to borrow your head. Lin Ran was speechless. He took a deep breath and asked helplessly, why are you so obsessed with my head? Because this is a very important part. Gai said seriously, I own the person who saved me a favor, so I have to do something for him. Only by completing this task can I reunite with my husband and daughter. In order to complete this task, I have to take advantage of the Emperor of the Great Yong Dynasty. Therefore, last night, I made an agreement with the Emperor of the Great Yong Dynasty to take your head before dusk today. At this point, Gai suddenly knelt on the ground and pressed her forehead against the ground as she said sincerely, Lord Lin, please allow me to reunite with my family. Are you crazy? Lin Ran finally couldn't help but curse, you want my life just so that you can reunite with your family. Do you think I'm stupid? Gai looked up in confusion, as if she didn't understand what Lin Ran meant. Lin Ran couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on her. He turned around and pointed at the unconscious Yi Jin. Your daughter is here. You can reunite with her whenever you want. Just do something else to repay the person who saved you. Gai shook her head. No, this is the only way. Only by completing this task can I be reunited with my family. Then let's do it another way. Lin Ran waved his hand again and frowned. Didn't you say that you wanted my head just to make the Emperor of the Great Yong Dynasty help you? You don't have to suck up to him now. I'll help you do whatever you want. You? Gai frowned slightly, looking troubled. I'm afraid you can't do it. I can't do it. Lin Ran was so angry that he laughed. He tightened his grip on the yin-yang sword, and an invincible sharp sword intent instantly surged out. With my cultivation at the 7th level of the half-saint realm, is there anything in the world I can't do? Even though Lin Ran was not hostile at this moment, Gai's face still turned pale when she was faced with his sharp sword intent. However, even so, Gai still shook her head with difficulty. You can't do it. This has nothing to do with cultivation. Even if you've already shattered the void and ascended, you still don't have the power to mobilize an entire army of a country. Mobilize an entire army of a country? Lin Ran's eyes flickered, and the endless sword intent calmed down. A strange smile slowly appeared on his face. Who said I don't have it? What did you say? Gai was stunned. Although she didn't know what Lin Ran meant, Lin Ran's confident expression made her feel like she had seen a new hope. In the magistrate's office of the Iron City, in the hall, Chen Tianqi, who was dressed in fluttering cloud, was sitting at the table. He was writing something with a brush in his hand. From time to time, he would stop and think for a moment, as if he was unsure of something. At this moment, a figure walked in. As soon as he entered the hall, he knelt on the ground. Greetings, Your Majesty. Long live the Emperor. Chen Tianqi didn't raise his head. The brush in his hand did not even stop for a moment. He smiled, Sun Ji, there's only the two of us here. There's no need for such formalities, right? The walls have ears. It's always good to be careful. Sun Ji chuckled and stood up. He walked a few steps closer and asked softly, how's the list? It's almost done. Chen Tianqi said as he wrote, but I don't think I can trust Lin Ran completely. At the same time, in order to prevent him from seeing through our plan, I want to add some unrelated people to confuse him. That makes sense. It's better to be safe than sorry. Sun Ji nodded in agreement. Suddenly, he chuckled and asked, I noticed that you seem to know Lin Ran very well. Not really. I've just met him a few times before. Chen Tianqi smiled and suddenly stopped writing. When he looked up at Sun Ji, his narrowed eyes revealed a hint of scrutiny. You seem to be very interested in Lin Ran. 346 Surrendering to the light. The moment he was stared at by Chen Tianqi, Sun Ji immediately felt his heart tighten, but he still maintained a calm expression. I guess so. After all, we're going to work together. It's not wrong to know more about him. Without waiting for Chen Tianqi to speak, Sun Ji continued, by the way, you've interacted with him a few times before. What do you think of this person? Chen Tianqi stared at Sun Ji for a while more before retracting his gaze and shaking his head. I can't say for sure. This person is unpredictable and often makes people confused. If I have to define him. At this point, Chen Tianqi suddenly stopped. He thought for a few seconds before saying in a low voice, I can only say that he's not easy to deal with. I feel the same way. Sun Ji nodded in agreement. Then, he sighed and patted Chen Tianqi on the shoulder. But you don't have to worry too much. Although he said that he wants to kill you, there's still room for negotiation. Oh, what do you mean? Sun Ji analyzed with a serious expression. The reason why Lin Ran wants to kill you is because you killed his friend. However, wars happen every day in this world. People will die in every war. As the Deputy General of the Heavenly Saint Border Garrison, he definitely understands this. So I think we can stop treating him as an enemy for the time being. As long as we do our best in this cooperation, he won't show no mercy, right? Chen Tianqi narrowed his eyes and didn't say anything, as if he was thinking that what Sun Ji said made sense. Sun Ji walked around the desk and came behind Chen Tianqi. He placed his hands on Chen Tianqi's shoulders and massaged him. Actually, after spending the past few days with him, I feel that Lin Ran is a good person. Chen Tianqi's body stiffened. It sounds like you two have become friends. I'm just stating the fact. Sun Ji smiled and pulled out a saber and placed it on Chen Tianqi's neck. His originally relaxed expression instantly turned cold. But you're definitely not my friend. Who are you? Feeling the coldness on his neck, Chen Tianqi did not react at all. He did not even move his eyelids. He only narrowed his eyes and chuckled. Put down the saber quickly. This kind of joke is not funny. Do I look like I'm joking? Sun Ji replied coldly. He moved the saber slightly in his hand, and the sharp blade instantly cut through Chen Tianqi's skin, leaving a shallow wound. After a short silence, Chen Tianqi's expression finally darkened. I really underestimated you. How did you find out? From details. Sun Ji said calmly, I realized this morning that you're a little different from usual, but what made me certain is what you said just now. Chen Tianqi asked in confusion, oh? Sun Ji pressed down on his shoulder and said coldly, your evaluation of Lin Ran is that he's not easy to deal with, but Tianqi is arrogant by nature and will never say such a thing. Even if Lin Ran is indeed very capable, he will only say that he has some tricks up his sleeve. At this point, Sun Ji's saber cut Chen Tianqi's neck a little more. So who are you? A drop of blood rolled down his neck and seeped into fluttering cloud like a drop of ink in water, but Chen Tianqi didn't seem to feel it. Chen Tianqi laughed mockingly. Who else can I be but your emperor? Emperor? When Sun Ji heard this, his expression changed drastically. Then, he felt a strong sense of regret. He should have known that if the Chen Tianqi in front of him was really someone else in disguise, the only one who looked identical to Chen Tianqi was the current emperor, Xuan Wushang. Thinking of this, Sun Ji hurriedly let go and retreated. He knelt on the ground and shouted in a low voice, I'm the leader of the guards in the magistrate's office called Sun Ji. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please forgive me, your majesty. Xuan Wushang chuckled. His fingertips brushed past the wound and it was stained with blood. He said indifferently in an emotionless tone, do you know that just this wound is enough to get your entire family wiped out? I know. Sun Ji knelt on the ground and replied, but my parents died when I was young. It was my master and his wife who raised me. At this point, Sun Ji's eyes darkened. After I became an adult, I was ordered to kill my master's wife and was kicked out by my master. Even if your majesty wants to wipe out my family, I'm the only one. Xuan Wushang suddenly chuckled. Minister Sun, you don't have to be so frightened. I was just joking. Joking? Sun Ji subconsciously looked up and saw the wound on Xuan Wushang's neck. I injured you. Aren't you going to punish me? If you didn't do it on purpose, why should I punish you? Xuan Wushang said seriously, although what you and Chen Tianqi did is considered treason, it's also for the sake of the people of the Iron City. I have an inescapable responsibility for what has happened. If I had understood the situation here earlier, you wouldn't have to kill your master's wife. I'm the one who let you down. Sun Ji hurriedly knelt on the ground. I wouldn't dare to blame you. Minister Sun, there's no need to be afraid. Xuan Wushang smiled and personally reached out to help Sun Ji up from the ground. He asked, if you want to redeem yourself, I can give you a chance. What do you think? Redeem myself? Sun Ji looked puzzled. I'm slow-witted. Please enlighten me, your majesty. It's actually very simple. Lord Sun, you just have to follow the plan you and Chen Tianqi came up with previously. At this point, a faint smile appeared on Xuan Wushang's face. However, at the final stage, I need you to make a small sacrifice. Sun Ji hesitated and did not say anything. Although Xuan Wushang's attitude had always been very kind, the look on his face made Sun Ji feel that this matter was not as simple as it sounded. 347 The Lesser of Two Powers. In the imperial study of the Heavenly Saint dynasty, in the palace. What did you say? Emperor Xing Yuan slapped the table and stood up. The corners of her mouth were trembling slightly from anger. You actually let him stay in the Great Yong dynasty alone? Don't you know how dangerous that place is? Opposite the desk, Yuo Qian looked aggrieved. Empress sister, this was not my idea. Why are you angry at me? Moreover, don't forget how high his cultivation is. In the entire Great Yong dynasty, not many people can challenge him, right? How dare you talk back to me? Emperor Xing Yuan scolded angrily and picked up the inkstone, wanting to throw it at him. However, after hesitating for a moment, she put it down and threw a jade talisman at him. Take a look for yourself. Yuo Qian caught the jade talisman and injected his divine sense into it. Instantly, a large amount of information surged into his mind. A few seconds later, Yuo Qian understood the message. Then, he looked shocked. Lu Hongshan is from the Heavenly Saint dynasty? I'm not sure yet. However, I've already asked the 5 Elements Imperial Guards to speed up the investigation. Emperor Xing Yuan's face darkened. She paused for a moment before saying coldly, but from the information he provided, most of it matches. Yuo Qian's expression changed. But if what Lu Hongshan said is true, doesn't that mean? That's right. Emperor Xing Yuan nodded, unable to hide the deep worry in her eyes. Lin Ran and even the Heavenly Saint dynasty are in a very dangerous situation, and he still doesn't know where the danger comes from. It's fine. I'll set off for the Great Yong dynasty immediately. There are still a few hours left. I should be able to make it in time if I travel at full speed. As Yuo Qian spoke, he was about to walk out when he heard Emperor Xing Yuan sigh heavily with mixed emotions. It's useless. There's no time. Yuo Qian's footsteps froze in midair, and tears suddenly welled up in his eyes. But we can't just sit back and do nothing. That's Lin Ran. Even if there's only a 1 in a million chance, I have to give it a try. Yuo Qian. Emperor Xing Yuan shouted in a low voice, and tears welled up in her eyes, but her face was filled with determination. Don't forget that this is not only a crisis for Lin Ran, but also for the entire Heavenly Saint dynasty. Now that Lin Ran is gone, you're the only one I can rely on. But, Yuo Qian wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't. He retracted his footsteps and gritted his teeth. What do you want me to do? In an unknown forest outside the Iron City of the Great Yong dynasty. As Chu Gai explained, Lin Ran's expression changed from confusion to shock. You said that the person who saved you is called Lu Ruqi. Lin Ran widened his eyes and asked in shock. He did not expect to hear the name of an acquaintance in such a story. Chu Gai nodded, her clear eyes filled with confusion. Lord Lin, do you know my savior? Lin Ran subconsciously wanted to nod, but after some thought, he shook his head. I do know someone called Lu Ruqi, but I'm not sure if we're talking about the same person. Chu Gai did not dwell on this question. She changed the topic and asked, I've already explained the situation clearly. Lord Lin, you said that there's another way. Please enlighten me. Lin Ran pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Perhaps Lu Ruqi did not completely trust Chu Gai, so she only asked her to hide beside Xuan Wushang and try her best to gain his trust. As for why she did this and what she wanted to do next, she did not mention it at all. Chu Gai, or rather, Lu Ruqi, only wanted to borrow the power of an emperor. It wasn't impossible for Lin Ran to go back to the Heavenly Saint dynasty and discuss it with Emperor Xing Yuan. If Chu Gai could kill Lin Ran, with such contributions, Xu Ji could obtain a lot of trust from Xuan Wushang. However, this put Lin Ran in a difficult position. He would definitely not hand over his head. In just a moment, Lin Ran realized that he couldn't follow Chu Gai's train of thought. Although this woman looked normal, she seemed to be in a hurry to reunite with her family. Her methods of solving problems were too extreme. Obtain trust, obtain trust. Lin Ran muttered softly and suddenly slapped his forehead. I have an idea. Chu Gai's eyes lit up. What idea? I can't tell you yet. Lin Ran pretended to be mysterious and chuckled. Then, he suddenly thought of something and asked, by the way, is there anything else you didn't say about being saved back then? Chu Gai thought for a moment and shook her head. I've said everything I can think of. Lin Ran sighed. All right, if you think of anything else, remember to tell me immediately. Hand over the antidote now. Seeing the confused look on Chu Gai's face, Lin Ran pointed at the 2 unconscious people and said angrily, are you going to let them sleep like this forever? Chu Gai took out an apricot-colored handkerchief and was about to hand it to Lin Ran when she suddenly retracted her hand. What are you doing? Lin Ran frowned and tightened his grip on the yin-yang sword. If Chu Gai dared to make a move, Lin Ran would definitely strike back. After all, Yi Jin was unconscious and didn't know that her mother was still alive, so she wouldn't suffer the pain of losing her mother again. In an instant, Lin Ran thought of many things, but he realized that Chu Gai had no intention of turning hostile. She just tucked the apricot-colored handkerchief around her waist and carefully put on the mask. After putting on the mask, Chu Gai realized that Lin Ran was looking at her. She explained with a bitter smile, "Lord Lin, don't worry, I just feel that it's not the time to reunite with my daughter." "I see." Lin Ran smiled awkwardly. He accidentally saw a dark glint flash across Chu Gai's eyes and suddenly had an ominous feeling. 348 A middle-aged man's heart is as deep as wine, a girl's feelings are always poems. The ominous feeling disappeared in a flash. Lin Ran thought for a moment but couldn't figure it out. When he came back to his senses, Chu Gai had already put on her mask. Then, she walked to the unconscious Yi Jin and reached out. However, just as she reached out, she retracted her hand for some reason. Seeing this, Lin Ran hesitated for a moment before asking, "Let me be straightforward. Trust is the foundation of cooperation. I need to ask you a question." Chu Gai looked at Yi Jin for a while more before turning around and nodding at Lin Ran. "Of course, Lord Lin, feel free to ask." Lin Ran glanced at Yi Jin, who was still unconscious. "I heard that you left her a relic. Are you talking about that necklace?" Chu Gai said without thinking. "It's a necklace made of heavenly iron. There are a total of 18 metal rods." Lin Ran didn't expect Chu Gai to answer so quickly. He was stunned for a moment before nodding. "There's another secret on that necklace. Do you know anything?" Hearing that there was a secret on the necklace, Chu Gai subconsciously glanced at Yi Jin. When she looked at Lin Ran again, there was clearly something strange in her eyes. "Jin even told you this? It seems that she trusts you a lot." Maybe?" Lin Ran smiled awkwardly. For some reason, he felt a little uncomfortable being stared at by Chu Gai. Fortunately, Chu Gai did not stare at Lin Ran for too long. After a few seconds, she turned her gaze to Yi Jin's face and said slowly in a reminiscent tone, "That necklace is engraved with reverse ciphertext that needs to be imprinted to be deciphered. However, this is not a problem for Jin, so you should already know the content, right?" Lin Ran nodded. Now, he was completely certain that this woman in front of him was Yi Jin's mother. "I have one more question," Lin Ran continued. "I've already confirmed your identity, so if you don't want to answer this question, you can choose not to answer." Chu Gai turned around and looked at him. Lin Ran hesitated for a moment before asking tentatively, "The content of the ciphertext on the necklace is called cloud-breaking / Since you engraved it on the necklace, I want to ask you where you learned this thing." Hearing the words cloud-breaking / a difficult expression suddenly appeared on Chu Gai's face. "This is a secret passed down in my family for generations, but no one has ever understood the meaning of it. If Lord Lin wants to ask how to practice it, I'm afraid I can't help you." "I see." Lin Ran nodded with a subtle expression. He had a vague guess, but there seemed to be many important parts missing, preventing him from connecting those dots. After thinking for a moment, Lin Ran said with a nod, "I have no more questions. You can wake them up." Chu Gai nodded, but she still didn't move. She just looked at Yi Jin's unconscious face in a daze. Her clear eyes under the mask were filled with affection. After about 15 minutes, Chu Gai suddenly took a deep breath. Then, she picked up the apricot-colored handkerchief at her waist and waved it gently in front of Yi Jin, as if she was shaking something off. However, before Lin Ran could see it clearly, the shiny dust disappeared with Yi Jin's breathing. Then, Chu Gai waved the handkerchief in front of the young man a few more times. After that, she put the handkerchief away. At the side, Yi Jin opened her eyes in a daze. "Where is this?" Yi Jin had just woken up and was still a little dizzy. When she saw Chu Gai girl beside her, she was stunned for a moment before suddenly getting up from the ground. "Who are you?" As soon as she finished speaking, Yi Jin saw Lin Ran sitting beside her. She was stunned for a moment before asking suspiciously, "Is this your friend?" "Ah." Lin Ran paused for a moment and nodded. "She's here to help me. You can call her Auntie Chu." "Auntie Chu?" Yi Jin glanced at Chu Gai again, and the suspicion on her face deepened. After all, this woman looked very young. People would believe that she was her sister. How could she call her auntie? "I'll call you Sister Chu." Yi Jin then held Chu Gai's arm intimately. Although this was the first time the two of them met, since she was Lin Ran's friend, Yi Jin naturally believed her. Chu Gai didn't seem to expect Yi Jin to take the initiative to get close to her. Her body suddenly stiffened. At this moment, the severely injured young man slowly woke up. When he saw another peerless beauty beside him, his expression immediately became strange, as if he could not believe what he was seeing. Before the young man could speak, Lin Ran, who realized that he had woken up, leaned over and extended a finger. Listen carefully, I'll give you one last chance. Why is Lu Ruki so sure that I'll save her? Did you ask me this question before? The young man looked at Lin Ran in confusion, as if he had yet to fully recover. Lin Ran didn't waste his breath on him. With a flash of white light in his hand, he summoned the yin-yang sword and placed it on the other party's shoulder. Tell me or die. Feeling the coldness coming from the yin-yang sword, the young man's face instantly turned pale, but he still gritted his teeth and shook his head firmly. I can't tell you, then die. After saying that, Lin Ran was about to slash, but before he could do it, he was pulled back from behind. Wait a minute. Qiu Gai pulled Lin Ran and said softly, don't kill anyone in front of the child. I've learned some interrogation methods. Why don't you let me try? Lin Ran glanced at Yi Jin. Although he didn't think it was necessary, he could understand how a mother felt. Then, he raised the yin-yang sword and nodded. It's best if you can get it out of him. If you can't, it's okay. Qiu Gai nodded slightly. Lord Lin, please take Jin somewhere far away. Lin Ran agreed and pulled Yi Jin away. However, he didn't know what was considered far, so he walked straight out of the forest. 349 Friend and Foe. After chatting for a while, Lin Ran was about to check how the interrogation was going when he suddenly heard light footsteps. He turned around and saw Qiu Gai walking out of the forest. It's over so quickly? Lin Ran raised his eyebrows in surprise. Did you get anything out of him? Qiu Gai nodded, but there was a strange look in her eyes. You should listen to it yourself. Lin Ran agreed and was about to set off when Qiu Gai reached out to stop Yi Jin. That person is a little afraid of me now. Go by yourself. We'll wait for you here. Afraid? Lin Ran looked puzzled. He didn't hear anything just now. Qiu Gai probably didn't torture the young man. Why should he be afraid of her? However, seeing that Qiu Gai was holding Yi Jin's hand as if she wanted some time alone with her daughter, Lin Ran didn't think too much of it. He nodded and turned to walk into the forest. Before Lin Ran arrived at the empty space, he saw the young man lying on the ground with a deep cut on his neck. Lin Ran's expression changed and he quickly went forward. He realized that the young man was no longer breathing. There was a piece of freshly cut bark on his chest. On it were a few small words written in blood. You're right. I'm going to reunite with my family. Damn it. Lin Ran cursed and threw the piece of bark to the ground. Before the bark fell to the ground, he had already flashed out of the forest. It was not until this moment that Lin Ran realized what Qiu Gai's strange gaze meant. Unfortunately, he was a step too late. Outside the forest, Qiu Gai and Yi Jin were long gone. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Lin Ran stomped his feet in exasperation. Lin Ran was frustrated. Although Qiu Gai might not kill her own daughter, after seeing the young man die, how could Lin Ran dare to take the risk? Family reunion. In his anger, Lin Ran suddenly thought of the message on the tree bark. Qiu Gai didn't know that he had sent Yi Shixiao away. If she really wanted to reunite with her family, she would definitely go to the Iron City to look for Yi Shixiao. Thinking of this, Lin Ran's eyes narrowed. The yin-yang sword instantly appeared in his hand. Then, he rode his sword and soared into the sky, turning into a stream of light that headed straight for the Iron City. With Lin Ran's full speed, the journey of more than 10 miles was completed in an instant. Lin Ran flew into the city on his sword. Then, he cut open the roof of the Yi family's house and landed in the living room on the first floor. The charcoal fire in the furnace had long been extinguished. There was a faint smell of coal smoke in the air. Lin Ran was about to release his divine sense to search the surroundings when his heart skipped a beat. His expression immediately turned strange. Lu Hongshan? As soon as he finished speaking, a figure descended from the sky and fell through the hole that Lin Ran had just created. It smashed into the metal ground with a loud bang, causing the entire house to tremble. Almost at the same time, a strong smell of blood filled the air. Lin Ran took a closer look and his expression changed drastically. The person who fell from the sky was indeed Lu Hongshan, but the wounds all over his body made him almost unrecognizable. Lu Hongshan's clothes were all torn. His muscular upper body was almost covered in cuts. Even the shallowest one was more than half an inch deep. His entire left arm was cut off. Through the badly mangled wound, one could even see his beating heart. Lin Ran was stunned on the spot by such a tragic injury, not because he was afraid, but because he couldn't understand what was going on. Firstly, Lu Hongshan should be in the Heavenly Saint dynasty at this moment. Why did he suddenly appear here? Secondly, even if Lin Ran's cultivation was comparable to Lu Hongshan's, he might not be able to severely injure him in a head-on confrontation. Who could have injured him like this? Lu Hongshan, who was lying on the ground, suddenly coughed violently. Blood splattered out with every cough. It was obvious that his time was up. Lin Ran suddenly came back to his senses and hurriedly went forward to transfer internal energy to Lu Hongshan. What happened? Who beat you up like this? Lin Ran. Lu Hongshan recognized Lin Ran and forced a smile. I lied to you previously. I had no choice. Please forgive me. Lin Ran was so anxious that his eyes turned red. Tell me who hurt you. Aren't you supposed to be in the Heavenly Saint realm? Did something happen to the Heavenly Saint dynasty? Xuan Wushang is a lunatic. We were all deceived by him. Lu Hongshan panted heavily and replied stutteringly. His eyes were still burning with anger. Hurry up and return to the Heavenly Saint. I'm already ahem. I can't make it through. I'll leave the Heavenly Saint to you. Before he could finish speaking, Lu Hongshan started coughing violently again. His entire body was bent like a cooked prawn, and he looked like he was about to cough his lungs out. Hey, hold on. At least make yourself clear before you die. Lin Ran shouted and was about to increase the flow of internal energy transfer when Lu Hongshan stopped coughing. His body became weak as if his bones had been removed, and the light in his eyes quickly extinguished. Hey, wake up. Stop pretending. Lin Ran patted Lu Hongshan's face. As expected, there was no reaction. However, Lin Ran still refused to give up. He raised his hand and pressed it against Lu Hongshan's chest, which was covered in wounds. He released his divine sense to heal Lu Hongshan, but the result was the same every time. This was a lifeless corpse. Is he really dead? As soon as this thought appeared, Lin Ran's heart skipped a beat. Although he had wanted to kill Lu Hongshan for a long time, when Lu Hongshan really died in front of him in this way, he suddenly felt that it was unreal. However, what Lin Ran cared about the most was what Lu Hongshan said before he died. Xuan Wushang is a lunatic. We were all deceived by him. Hurry up and return to the Heavenly Saint. I can't take it anymore. I'll leave the Heavenly Saint to you. These words sounded quite confusing at first because Lu Hongshan was from the Great Yong dynasty. Before he died, he came all the way here to deliver a letter to Lin Ran. Was their relationship so good? Just as Lin Ran was in a daze, a low horn sound suddenly made him come back to his senses. Then, he heard a sharp voice echoing in the Iron City. The war has begun. Citizens of the Iron City, get ready. 350 ending. Then, the sound of metal being forged began to ring throughout the city. Lin Ran looked at Lu Hongshan's corpse and frowned. What war? With whom? Which side was Lu Hongshan on? Why was Xuan Wushang a lunatic? Countless questions occupied his mind. Lin Ran felt that his head was about to explode. Xuan Wushang. Lin Ran's eyes were red as he squeezed out a name from between his teeth. Although he had no clue, he knew that all the answers were on Xuan Wushang. Amidst the sound of metal being forged, a black shadow swept past the empty street like a gust of wind and smashed through the door of the magistrate's office. Countless pieces of meat of different sizes were scattered in the originally spacious courtyard. However, even in this hell-like scene, Lin Ran only watched quietly without moving his eyelids. On the roof of the hall, a slender figure stood quietly. His elegant face made him look like a scholar, but the white robe he was wearing was already dyed red by blood. Seeing Lin Ran barge into the courtyard, a smile appeared on Xuan Wushang's face. You're finally here. What did you do? Lin Ran asked expressionlessly and coldly. He slowly reached out with his right hand, but it was not his usual sword, but a long and narrow saber that was as black as ink. It's nothing. I just killed a few people. Xuan Wushang smiled faintly as if it was a small matter. His gaze landed on the black shadow saber in Lin Ran's hand. I'm the emperor of the Great Yong dynasty. Can't I control the life and death of a few ants? That's not what I asked. Lin Ran looked at the corpses in the courtyard without any fluctuation of emotions in his deep eyes. What did you do? Hearing the killing intent in Lin Ran's words, the smile on Xuan Wushang's face slowly disappeared. After a moment of silence, he suddenly asked an unrelated question. Do you want to shatter the void and ascend? Lin Ran's eyes were filled with mockery. Breaking through the void and ascending was the dream of almost all martial artists. Unfortunately, it was not for him. As soon as Xuan Wushang finished speaking, he opened his arms against the strong wind and shouted with a fanatical expression, I've been lying low for 10 years for this unprecedented plan. As long as you and I join forces, we can shatter the void and ascend together. At this point, Xuan Wushang suddenly pointed at Lin Ran. At that time, I can give you everything you want, including wealth, women, power, and reputation. Do I look like an idiot to you? Lin Ran looked at Xuan Wushang coldly. What makes you think you can definitely ascend? Because of this, Xuan Wushang raised his hand to show fluttering cloud, which was dyed red with blood. This saber, oh no, this divine artifact was left behind by an ancient martial immortal. As long as there's a huge amount of evil aura as a catalyst, it can split open the heavenly gate to help us reach the immortal world. Looking at the fanatic Xuan Wushang, Lin Ran suddenly figured out many questions. For example, why did Xuan Wushang hand fluttering cloud over to Chen Tianqi back then? Why did he stay in the dark dungeon for more than 10 years? Why did Xuan Wushang always work with different people despite having a clear goal? Why did he ignore the grudges between the people he worked with? This was because what he was plotting had nothing to do with a certain party or even a dynasty. He just wanted to use these people to cause as much chaos as possible. The more chaos there was, the more evil aura there would be, and he would be one step closer to his goal. Is that why you want to join forces with me? Lin Ran's heart skipped a beat. He said in an emotionless tone, initiate a war to breed evil aura and let me, a martial artist at the 7th level of the half-saint realm, take action? That's right. Xuan Wushang replied excitedly. As long as you agree, I'll immediately use all the hidden chess pieces I've set up in the past 10 years. At that time, the 7 countries in the world will be pulled into the flames of war. The evil aura it produces is enough to lure out the heavenly gate, and all you have to do is wave your hand and we can reach the immortal world. It sounds not bad. Lin Ran nodded thoughtfully, as if he was really tempted by Xuan Wushang's idea. Xuan Wushang was overjoyed when he heard this, but before he could continue, the smile on Lin Ran's face suddenly disappeared. Instead, he said in a disdainful tone, unfortunately, you couldn't succeed. What did you say? Xuan Wushang's expression instantly darkened. Could it be that even you don't believe me? It's not that I don't believe you, but I can't believe you. Lin Ran sneered and instantly activated the Mystic Gate Sword technique. In a flash, he landed on the roof and looked at Xuan Wushang. This fluttering cloud isn't a divine artifact at all. It can't summon the heavenly gate. Lin Ran sneered and said, and your so-called ancient martial immortal is just an evil cultivator who failed to ascend. Liar! Xuan Wushang roared angrily. The scarlet fluttering cloud surged like a sea of blood that wanted to devour Lin Ran. Lin Ran's heart skipped a beat, but he still said slowly in a calm tone, gathering fog as bones, weaving clouds as clothes, eyes and ears are profound and true. Xuan Wushang's expression changed drastically. How do you know the cloud-breaking technique? To be precise, this is called cloud-breaking / Lin Ran corrected him with a faint smile. As he spoke, a small piece of gauze cloth that was like a white petal rolled between his fingers. This is... Xuan Wushang's eyes widened, but it was too late for him to realize that something was wrong. As Lin Ran waved his left hand down, fluttering cloud, which was originally elegant and agile, suddenly tightened its grip. Xuan Wushang's expression changed as he hurriedly circulated his internal energy to resist, but fluttering cloud, which had once been at his beck and call, did not listen to his command at all. The heavenly Tao is revealed. It's retribution. Lin Ran said coldly, you brought this upon yourself. With that said, fluttering cloud, which was like a scarlet sea of blood, suddenly surged violently. Then, with a bang, it exploded into a blood mist that filled the sky. With Xuan Wushang's death, this calamity was finally resolved. However, someone still had to clean up the mess he left behind. Lin Ran sighed helplessly and let the corner of fluttering cloud fall. His figure turned into a shadow and disappeared. For the next 10 years, Lin Ran disappeared without a trace as if he had never appeared. However, the legend of the nameless sword god circulated in the martial world.